Chapter 1000. This Qianquan saber is made of cold iron from ancient times. After 3 years of refinement by a divine craftsman, its blade is sharp and indestructible. Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber with a cold look in her eyes. Lin Muyu, don't blame me for not warning you if your head gets chopped off by the heaven and earth saber. Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She pointed the Xianyuan sword at her opponent. My sword is the Xianyuan sword. These simple words stunned Wu Feng, Wu Su, and countless experts of the Golden Dragon territory, who hadn't heard of the Xianyuan sword. It was an ancient divine weapon that had been fought over by the 64 territories for tens of thousands of years. It was the sword of the way of the king, and it was irreplaceable. In an instant, everyone's view of Lin Muyu changed. Someone who could have the Xianyuan sword must not be a nobody. The two divine artifacts produced different clanging sounds. Before they even came into contact, their auras had already begun to compete. Wu Su was the first to attack with a shout. The cosmic saber was instantly enveloped in flames. His body suddenly rose into the air and then fell down. He was so fast that it was as if he had built an arch bridge of flames in the garden. As an expert of the God-Emperor realm, it was impossible to be weak without some skills. Although Wu Su was addicted to wine and women, he didn't completely neglect his cultivation. This powerful strike had shocked and worried the experts of the Sparrow territory brought by Feng Zhanlin. However, in Lin Muyu's opinion, Wu Su's ferocious attack was nothing like that. In terms of strength, Wu Su's attack was worthy of the cultivation of a god the Arch. However, in terms of speed, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. A true god Thearcha's speed should not be this slow. Since Wu Su was so slow, he must have a backup plan. He rushed forward and unleashed half of his Xianyuan sword's divine power. He swung it at the Cosmos saber. Boom! The flames and the power of stars collided in the air. Sure enough, Wu Su's strike was fake. After landing, he kicked out with a powerful force on the tip of his foot. If he was hit by this kick, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. The quick attack was a feint. The real killing move was the kick from behind. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was prepared for this. She did not look down on this foppish playboy. She stomped on the ground with her battle boots and jumped up. At the same time, she dodged the kick with her long sword. The stardust on the blade of the sword surged and condensed into a mountain rock. It was the 5 mountains descending from the heavens of the stars' arts. Moreover, the mysterious energy of the invisible elephant spell was activated, which doubled the power of the 5 mountains descending from the heavens. What? Wu Su was stunned. He never thought that Lin Muyu could not only dodge his sure-kill attack, but also counterattack so quickly. Moreover, the speed and strength of her counterattack were superior. He quickly raised his wrist and used the Qianquan saber to block Lin Muyu's attack. Finally, the two divine weapons collided heavily. The power of Lin Muyu's attack was so powerful that Wu Su's hands were numb. His feet also broke the stone floor and sank into the gravel. The airflow blown out by the sword suddenly swept out, forcing the onlookers to use their arms to block the impact of the powerful Gangqi. Good fight! Wu Su roared angrily. He brandished his saber with both arms and slashed at Lin Muyu, who was in the air. The Qianquan saber transformed into the 8 trigrams constellation. Strands of righteous force wrapped around Lin Muyu like a net. It looked like an impenetrable defense. The defensive martial art of the law of fire in the Golden Dragon domain was really not simple. Feng Zhanlin, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, could not help but nod his head in approval. No wonder the Golden Dragon domain was able to survive among the 64 domains despite being so weak. One could see how powerful this martial technique was. Wu Su was already so powerful when using the Wu clan's martial technique. If his father, Wu Feng, were to use it, how powerful would he be? In the face of Wu Su's perfect defense, Lin Muyu was not in a hurry. He knew this kind of defense, which was similar to the 8 trigrams formation, very well. He knew it when he set up the 8 trigrams formation during the battle with the Devil Tribe. Now Wu Su's martial art was only scratching the surface of the Yin and Yang Taishu. The so-called yin and yang of the 8 trigrams were endless, strong and weak alternating, and the moment of alternating was the greatest weakness. Seeing the opportunity, Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword with both hands and stabbed down. Swish! The sword edge was covered with flames. The spiritual power of heaven and earth rushed in from all directions, and the space was instantly distorted. It was the 5 elements' 8 waste destruction. Ah! Wu Su already knew something was wrong when Lin Muyu made the move. It was as if his weakness was completely exposed to the opponent's attack, and everything about him was completely seen through. The heaven and earth saber was violently surging, and Wu Su immediately felt something sweet in his throat. He almost vomited blood, and the saber in his hand hung down as if it didn't listen to his command. He took a few steps back and hit the stone pillar of the pavilion behind him. But Lin Muyu's attack was more than one sword. The cold wind came, and this time it was the law of ice. The Xianyuan sword was surrounded by ice light, and it swept toward Wu Su's throat in an arc. Ah! Wu Su could only scream. The heaven and earth saber was shaken off by the Xianyuan sword with a clang, and Wu Su broke the pillar. The whole pavilion collapsed in an instant. He still wanted to go, so he stepped on the ground and jumped up. However, Lin Muyu had already descended from the sky. With a pung sound, her combat boot landed heavily on Wu Su's shoulder. There was a faint sound of his shoulder blade breaking. Wu Su spat out a mouthful of blood as he tumbled to the side of the lotus pond. Before he could stand up, Lin Muyu had already swept over and stomped heavily on his chest with her combat boot. Cough, cough, cough. Wu Su was seriously injured and he coughed violently. How many years have you been cultivating till now? Lin Muyu's clear eyes were filled with arrogance as she looked down at Wu Su from above. Everyone else was stunned, but no one stepped forward to stop them. This was a contest between 2 God-Emperor realm experts, and according to the rules of the 64 regions, outsiders were not allowed to interfere. Wu Su coughed a few more times and said with bloodshot eyes, "More than 300 years. That's all you've got after 300 years? Lin Muyu's face was full of disdain, and she said, "I've cultivated for a total of 12 years, from nothing to stepping into the God-Emperor realm. Now tell me who's the trash between the 2 of us?" "I'm trash." Wu Su's body trembled, and blood and tears flowed from his eyes. "Young Region Lord." Not far away, a large man shouted, "You can't admit defeat. How can our Golden Dragon region bear such humiliation?" "Shut up!" Wu Fengfeng shouted. Lin Muyu looked at Wu Su and said indifferently, "You're too greedy for wine and women, so you didn't focus on cultivation. With just the 2 of you, the Golden Dragon region will only become weaker and weaker, and eventually be devoured by the Raging Fire region." As she spoke, Lin Muyu took a step back and removed her foot from Wu Su's chest. She said, "All right, according to our previous agreement, if I lose, I'll pay with my wife. If you lose, you'll pay with your life. Young Region Lord, you can kill yourself now." Lin Muyu suddenly opened her left hand and snatched a guard sword from him, and threw it straight in front of Wu Su. "No, absolutely not." Wu Feng's old face was full of anger, and he said, "How can life and death be treated as child's play? I only have one son, and I can't let him die like this." "Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, what do you want?" Feng Zhanlin touched his nose and said with a smile, "Old Region Lord, we've already said that we're only here to seek cooperation. Only when the Sparrow Domain and the Golden Dragon region join forces can we resist the powerful Raging Fire region." "Let's join forces then." Wu Feng was disappointed. "Great. I'll use all the resources of the Golden Dragon region to fight the Raging Fire region with you." "Really? Old Region Lord?" Feng Zhanlin was pleasantly surprised. "What else? What else can we do?" "No, I don't agree." Before Wu Feng's voice died away, Lin Muyu said clearly, "At first, we wanted to join forces, but young Region Lord Wu Su was so aggressive that I changed my mind. Now, we're not joining forces, but merging. The Golden Dragon region will join the Sparrow Domain and become a part of it. From now on, there will be no more Golden Dragon region." "What did you say?" Blue veins popped out on Wu Feng's face. "Lin Muyu, Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to say that you want to annex the Golden Dragon region? This is for the good of the Golden Dragon region. Lin Muyu looked at the group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region and said in a clear voice, Wu Feng is old and muddle-headed, and Wu Su is rebellious and ignorant. Do you think that these two can revitalize the Golden Dragon region? I think the Golden Dragon region will be destroyed in less than 10 years. On the other hand, the region lord of the Sparrow Domain, Feng Zhanlin, is superior in both cultivation and strength. He treats people with kindness. This is not annexing the Golden Dragon region, but finding a better home for the people of the Golden Dragon region. The crowd fell silent. Although the group of God-state warriors did not speak, their expressions showed that they were a little shaken. After all, most of them knew Wu Feng and his son very well. Just this alone was enough to disappoint the people of the Golden Dragon region. Now, with the amazing strength displayed by Lin Muyu, and the superb speech from a foreign land, and the sword of the king as proof, the hearts of the people of the Golden Dragon region were naturally swayed. Feng Zhanlin was a man of action. At this time, he stepped forward and said respectfully, the former region lord is a senior, and I, Feng Zhanlin, am just a junior. I respect the former region lord, but the Golden Dragon region cannot be so decadent. This will only bring disaster to the gods of the Golden Dragon region. I, Feng Zhanlin, would like to invite the heroes of the Golden Dragon region to join the Sparrow Domain and fight against the strong together. Since ancient times, we are weak when we are divided, and we are strong when we are united. When the Sparrow Domain sweeps over the prehistoric mystery land, we will raise our cups together and share the prosperity. The group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region was even more moved. Wu Su's face was livid. He did not commit suicide, but pointed at the group of people and scolded, You traitors! My Wu family has given you glory and wealth, but now you have the heart to betray us. You are not worthy of being gods. Lin Muyu could not help but snicker. Wu Su had lived for more than 300 years, but his mind was like that of a 3-year-old child. His scolding made the people of the Sparrow Domain even more loyal to the humble people. Stupid, extremely stupid. Chapter 1001. Wu Su, why haven't you killed yourself? Are you waiting for me to help you? The fire cyclone around Lin Muyu flowed back, and the spirit beads of law were about to break out of her body. Everyone in the Golden Dragon Domain was dumbfounded. At this time, they were even more certain that Lin Muyu's strength was extraordinary. Judging from the number of spirit beads of law, she was at least at the Master God level, maybe even higher. A sovereign spark. Everyone knew exactly what that signified. The Northern Heaven Realm's godly King Dongming relied on the Frost Law's Lord God latent deity to create an everlasting great cause. Until now, he had stood tall in the Northern Heaven Realm without collapsing. On the other hand, the Purple Jade Fairy relied on the Life Law's Lord God latent deity to be able to move unhindered across 64 domains and destroy 2 domains in a row. Therefore, smart people had to have a vision for development when choosing masters to follow. Following a master god was much better than following a pair of unknown father and son. In the crowd, a red-haired girl raised her hand and smiled. I, Luo Xintian of the Nanshan tribe, am willing to join the Sparrow Domain and follow Lady Lin Muyu from now on. Lin Muyu turned around and saw Luo Xintian wearing a red skirt. She looked youthful and lively, at most 17 or 18 years old, but her strength was somewhat frightening. Between her breathing, there were 62 waves of divine power. This was a freak of the God Emperor realm. Therefore, she cupped her fists in the Shattered Cauldron realm's military salute. Thank you, young lady. Come over here. Luo Xintian leaped and landed beside Lin Muyu in the next moment. A faint fragrance of a young girl wafted from her body. Thank you for your support, young lady. Lin Muyu smiled in a low voice. Don't mention it. I like you. You are handsome, powerful, far-sighted, and knowledgeable. Naturally, you are much better than that father and son. With that, Luo Xintian stared into the distance. Big stupid cow, aren't you coming over? Coming. A huge and sturdy young man leaped up and landed right next to Luo Xintian. He rubbed her head, smiled and said, Xianxia, you're the descendant of the South Mountain tribe. Do you really want to join the Spirit Sparrow region? How could it be fake? Luo Xianxia put her hands behind her back and said to Lin Muyu with a smile, Madam, this stupid bull is called Nyogung. Although he is only a 55th heavenly grotto heaven godly king, he was born with brute force. Even I am no match for him. He is the strongest bull in our tribe. I am willing to work for you. Lin Muyu smiled happily. Thank you, Nyogung. There's no need to be so polite, my lord. Nyogung scratched his head and actually looked very embarrassed, causing Lin Muyu to curse in her heart. He was too straightforward. As a result, Wu Su, who was sitting on the ground, turned pale. Luo Xianxia, are you crazy? Have you ever thought about the future of the Nanshan tribe by betraying the Golden Dragon domain so openly? Does the young lord want to take revenge on the Nanshan tribe? Luo Xianxia smiled faintly. Her pure and flawless eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent. She said, If I remember correctly, you should have already committed suicide to apologize, right? Madam Lin Muyu, kill him, he is threatening me. Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin said loudly, the Sparrow region respects the wise and lowly. As long as you join the Sparrow region, you will be ranked according to strength and contribution. Is there anyone else who is willing to join the Sparrow region and fight against the Raging Fire region together? More people in the crowd responded. Soon, more than half of the God-state overlords that Wu Feng brought with him were on Feng Zhanlin's side. The rest were also hesitating. Clang. The Xinyuan sword was unsheathed again. Lin Muyu flew forward and pressed the sword against Wu Su's neck. The sword instantly pierced through the wall and blood oozed out. She asked indifferently, Do you really want me to help you? No. Wu Su's face turned pale. He shook his head repeatedly, Don't kill me, I don't want to die. Wu Feng's voice was also trembling, Don't kill my son. I will agree to whatever you want. Feng Zhanlin was overjoyed and said, Then, may I be so bold as to ask you to bring your people to join the Sparrow region and fight against the Raging Fire region together? Join? Wu Feng looked dispirited. Let's join. No. Lin Muyu suddenly shook her head and said, I can spare Wu Su's life, but you must take Wu Su away from the Golden Dragon domain and the Sparrow region and promise me that you will never come back. Are you expelling me? Wu Feng said angrily. No, I am asking you to leave respectfully, Lin Muyu said sternly. The Golden Dragon domain needs a better master, don't you think so? Wu Feng trembled with anger. Feng Zhanlin frowned and went forward to ask in a low voice, Lin General, why do you want to expel them? Lin Muyu nodded and said, The father and son have been operating in the Golden Dragon domain for thousands of years. In fact, they are already well established. If we don't expel them, they will be a hidden danger after they join the Spirit Sparrow domain. When that time comes, Wu Feng will raise his arm and call for help, and the Spirit Sparrow domain will be reorganized. Therefore, we only want the people of the Golden Dragon domain, not the domain master. Feng Zhanlin was relieved and his face was full of respect. Lin Muyu was much more far-sighted and meticulous than him. No wonder the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor appointed him as the left marshal of the Eastern Heavenly Realm. Therefore, Feng Zhanlin changed his words and said, As long as you leave with Wu Su, I will send you 5,000 servants, as well as countless gold, silver, and jewelry. No matter where you go, you can continue to enjoy wealth. What do you think, old region master? Do I have any other choice? Wu Feng asked coldly. At the same time, the divine power in his body began to increase rapidly. His old face was a little distorted. You are forcing me. How could Golden Dragon Yu allow himself to be captured so easily? Are you guys dreaming? Wu Feng was about to make his move. But at this moment, an even more vigorous aura suddenly surged, forcibly suppressing Wu Feng's God Emperor domain. When everyone looked back, they saw a 6-winged seraph descending from the sky. Shi Yen held the Chiwe sword in her hand like a goddess descending to the earth. Her eyebrows were full of arrogance and disdain. Wu Feng, who are you? How dare you be so arrogant? 6-winged seraph. Everyone in the divine realm knew about the strongest existence in the West. Wu Feng had seen the power of the seraph with his own eyes. Even the God Emperor of the 99th heaven was killed by the seraph in a few moves. Who was he? Perhaps this seraph had cursed so much that his old eyes were blurred, and he could no longer see clearly. Shi Yan's seraph transformation was completed in an instant and ended in another instant. She returned to her gentle and dignified demeanor. So it's the seraph, the seraph. Wu Feng frowned and slowly knelt down. He said, I admit defeat. I, Wu Feng, admit defeat. I don't want anything. I'll leave with Wusu. This golden dragon domain is yours. At this moment, a few godly state experts, including a God Emperor expert, rushed out and said loudly, Region Lord, wherever you go, we will go. We will never regret it. You guys should stay here. Wu Feng said. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. No, they will go with you. There is no point in keeping them in the Spirit Sparrow domain. There was indeed no point in having the same goal but not the same goal. Wu Feng went forward to help the seriously injured Wu Su up. A trace of resentment flashed across his face. He flew out of the Golden Dragon Palace with a few godly state experts and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but burst into laughter. He opened his arms and said, Everyone listen to me. From now on, the Golden Dragon domain will officially join the Spirit Sparrow domain. You and I will follow the East Heaven Realm's left army Marshal Lin Muyu to fight against the strong enemies of the Raging Fire domain and create a grand plan in the ancient mystery realm. Everyone applauded. Although many God State strongmen used to live a good life in the Golden Dragon domain, and they had endless beauties and delicious food, it was obviously much better than the lifeless life in the past. Moreover, they had a new master, and this new master actually had another identity. Marshal of the Left Army of the Eastern Celestial Court, which made him even more worthy of loyalty. Lin Muyu said, Change all the signboards of the Golden Dragon domain to the Spirit Sparrow domain. The Golden Dragon Palace will be renamed to the Spirit Sparrow Palace. From now on, this palace will be the headquarters of the Spirit Sparrow Palace. In addition, the original castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain is too small and too close to the Raging Fire domain. It is easy to be attacked. Region Lord Feng, why don't you order all the people of the Spirit Sparrow domain to move here? The Golden Dragon domain castle is larger and more prosperous. Feng Zhanlin said without hesitation, I will do it immediately. In addition, will the spiritual orchard also be moved here? It would be best if it can be moved. I will do my best. Please rest assured, Lin General. Thank you for your hard work, Region Lord. Thus, Lin Muyu officially had a new foundation in the 64 domains. Although the Region Lord of the new Spirit Sparrow domain was Feng Zhanlin, everyone knew that the real master was actually Lin Muyu. He was the real number one. Moreover, the Spirit Sparrow Palace was indeed comfortable. It allowed Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan to live well and eat well. This was also one of Lin Muyu's great wishes. As a man, this was something he should do and was duty-bound to do. 3 days later, the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved to the new castle. Feng Zhanlin was also aware of the big picture. If the Golden Dragon domain was still divided into 2 castles after merging, they would not be able to defend together and would be easily attacked one by one. Therefore, although the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was a foundation passed down from their ancestors, they still had to give it up. Indecisiveness would only lead to chaos. Feng Zhanlin understood this simple principle. 10 days later, the migration was completed. All the wealth in the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved, and the people were all moved to the new city. As for Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the others, they began to cultivate again, still working hard to improve their cultivation in the Cave of Gods and Demons. Lin Muyu's next goal was the 70th layer of Heavenly Cave, but he did not know how long it would take to achieve it. Chapter 1002. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Lin Muyu and the other 3 had spent almost every day in the Cave of Gods and Demons. After 3 months of cultivation, Lin Muyu and Qin Yin had stepped into the 65th Grotto Heaven realm at almost the same time. Tang Xiaoxi had also succeeded in becoming a monarch a month ago, and was now a 62nd Grotto Heaven realm little fox. As for Shi Yan, her progress was the slowest, and she was still lingering on the edge of the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. There was no other way. The power that was destroyed by the Divine Pact could not be so easily cultivated back. However, Lin Muyu was well aware that even if Shi Yan was only at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm, her usefulness was no less than that of a 90th Grotto Heaven realm God Emperor. A blazing angel at the Great Perfection realm had directly intimidated Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Wu Feng, and the other God Emperors. If not for Shi Yan, Feng Zhanlin and the others would not have submitted so easily. The moonlight scattered on the icy plains outside the Cave of Gods and Demons. After 3 months, the ancient mystic realm had already entered winter. There was even a heavy snowfall a few days ago, and the accumulated snow had not melted yet. On the layers of snow, Lin Muyu laid on her back with her hands behind her head, and a wild grass root in her mouth, leisurely swinging her battle boots. Beside her, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were also there. I wonder how long Sister Haiyan can last this time. Qin Yin smiled hopefully. It has already been 8 hours, and she still hasn't come out. Don't worry, we all know Shi Yan's strength very well. Her understanding of power is far above the 3 of us, and she knows how to use it and cultivate. Lin Muyu looked at the bright moon in the sky, and said, I am very worried about the Empire. We have been here for half a year, and I wonder how Brother Feng and Sister Chu Yao are doing. Did the feudal vassals and the National Assembly continue to make things difficult for them? Qin Yin smiled. Half a year here is half a month in the Shattered Cauldron world. Nothing big will happen. After the National Assembly attacked Sidusen, the Longdan army camp has taken a series of measures as punishment, and the National Army has even lost basic mobility. With Feng Jixing, Sidusen, and Wei Chou guarding Lanyan City, I believe nothing will happen. Why is Xiao Yin so confident that nothing will happen? Because it's very simple. The corners of Qin Yin's mouth curled up, revealing 2 beautiful little dimples, and said, Zhuang Yan, Su Changjing, and the others are only relying on Imperial Uncle Qin Lian's authority. But I still understand Imperial Uncle better. He is calm as water, and when Imperial Father and Qin Yi were still here, Qin Lian handled things calmly. This time, he must feel that constitutionalism is a long-term strategy, so he supported it. But at the end of the day, he is a member of the Qin family, and it is impossible for him to help Zhuang Yan and the other feudal vassals divide the Qin family's world. You see things clearly. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches as she smiled and said, If I'm not wrong, the current National Assembly should be changing its blood. I believe in Brother Feng's ability. When we return to the Shattered Cauldron world, the National Assembly will be a real National Assembly, no longer controlled by the feudal vassals. But, before we officially lose control of the National Assembly, Zhuang Yan, Yang Zhong, and the others will definitely counterattack once. It all depends on how Brother Feng handles this counterattack. Don't worry. Qin Yin sat up, held his hand, and felt warm. She said, Since we're already in the prehistoric mystic realm, let's not think about the Shattered Cauldron world anymore. Just leave that place to Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, and the others. Why isn't Xiao Shi saying anything? She's asleep. Qin Yin turned around and felt a little helpless. Tang Xiaoxi was leaning on her arm, and she was already breathing softly. As expected, she had fallen asleep. But at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her eyebrows. Someone's coming. The Spirit Pulse technique discovered a fluctuation of divine power 20 kilometers away. The person was very fast, and with a shatter of the void, he had already arrived on the snowy plains. There weren't many people who could find this place, and Feng Zhanlin was one of them. The person who had come was him. At this moment, Feng Zhanlin was the domain lord of the reorganized Spirit Sparrow region. He had a huge territory under his control, and he had a strong army. He wore a golden robe embroidered with a fierce tiger, and he had the air of a general. Domain Lord Feng, why are you here? Lin Muyu sat up. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said respectfully, Lin General, something happened in Spirit Sparrow region. Raging Fire region attacked? That's not it. Feng Zhanlin smiled. I've heard that Lin General injured Dongfang Yan's heart meridian. I'm afraid Dongfang Yan won't be able to attack Spirit Sparrow region for 2 to 3 months. This incident was caused by Sky Foothill region. Sky Foothill region? Feng Zhanlin nodded and said, the Celestial Foothill domain is the Mochi clan's territory that has been passed down for generations. Moreover, it's less than 100 miles away from the Lingke domain. It's probably because we've merged the Golden Dragon domain that we've attracted the attention of the Celestial Foothill domain. Not long ago, there was a battle in the Yangling Valley between the two domains. The Lingke domain lost an ultimate god while the Celestial Foothill domain lost 3 ultimate gods. That's a small skirmish. That's right, but we can't ignore the fact that Sky Foothill region dared to fight us. I think Sky Foothill region Lord Mochi Lin has already decided to take action against us. Since ancient times, how can others sleep next to one's bed? Golden Dragon Domain's previous owners, Wu Feng and Wu Su, were not ambitious, so Sky Foothill region turned a blind eye. However, it's different now. Golden Dragon Domain has merged with Spirit Sparrow region, so Mochi Lin can no longer ignore our existence. Lin Muyu pondered and asked, what kind of place is Sheep Spirit Valley? It's a deep valley, but it's full of spiritual energy. Even in winter, hundreds of flowers bloom as if it's spring. There are many wild and undiscovered spiritual fruits in the Yang Spirit Valley, so the Yang Spirit Valley has always been a place of contention. Whoever possesses the Yang Spirit Valley will be able to nurture more godly state experts. Territorial Lord, what do you mean? I think we must fight for Sheep Spirit Valley, and there will be a war between us and Sky Foothill region. Very well. How strong is Sky Foothill region? Tell me the truth. Feng Zhanlin was stunned and said, although Sky Foothill region isn't as strong as Raging Fire region, it's not too bad either. Territorial Lord Mochi Lin has long entered the 86th level Grotto Heaven while his cousin Mochi Lei is at the 81st level Grotto Heaven. The entire Sky Foothill region has 9 Emperor Gods, 64 Divine Kings, over 200 Ultimate Gods, and over 10,000 servants. What about our Spirit Sparrow region? Feng Zhanlin was a little embarrassed. He touched his nose and said, I've disappointed Lin General. Including Lin General and the ladies, the Spirit Sparrow region has a total of 15 Emperor Gods, 102 Divine Kings, over 500 Ultimate Gods, and over 30,000 servants. Then we're much stronger than Sky Foothill region. Lin Muyu's gaze became determined. Destroy Sky Foothill region before the Raging Fire region comes looking for trouble. We'll eat their power and strengthen ourselves. Does that mean Lin General agrees? Great, that's great. Feng Zhanlin said confidently, I think Mochi Lin will definitely gather his men to defend Sheep Spirit Valley and take back this place. I've decided to lead my men to fight tomorrow. If possible, Lin General, please bring Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Lord Seraphim. It'll be best if we can get the most results with the least cost. Yes, I know. Lin Muyu said cheerfully, Territorial Lord, go back and prepare. We'll stay in Spirit Sparrow region tonight and depart with you tomorrow. Feng Zhanlin flew away in the blink of an eye and turned into a meteor in the sky. Lin Muyu looked back and saw Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi staring at her with wide eyes. She could not help but feel awkward. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a piece of meat. Tang Xiaoxi giggled. But it's delicious. You make it sound like you've eaten it before. Tang Xiaoxi's face instantly turned red. She could not take the teasing at all. Qin Yin said seriously, Are we really going to war with Sky Foothill region? Of course. If we don't fight others, others will come and fight us. Lin Muyu lay back down on the snow and said, Since we've come to the prehistoric mystic realm, if we don't overturn the seas and rivers, we won't be worthy of this trip. The two beautiful girls smiled knowingly. At this moment, a piercingly cold divine power of light rushed out of the cave of gods and demons. It was Xian. She looked very energetic. Although her body was covered with icicles, the charm in her eyes was leaping and soaring like never before. Congratulations, Sister Xian. You've broken through. Thank you. Shi Yen patted the ice on her body and said, I really did not expect. I could jump from level 10 to level 20 in just one day. What? Sister Xian reached level 20 Grotto Heaven? Qin Yin was shocked. Is it abnormal? Shi Yen said. No, it's just that my advancement was too slow before. Now it's so fast, Lin Muyu smiled and said, this is called good preparation. The slow progress is just to lay the foundation for the leap in the future. Shi Yen said, I heard sounds outside just now. Is there going to be a fight tomorrow? Very good. Shi Yen reached out and grabbed at the void in front of her. Immediately, a thin sword condensed from streams of light appeared. It was Qiyue. She smiled slightly and said, I just happen to want to exercise my muscles. Once I step into the God King realm, I'll probably be able to use all 7 slashes. That's for the best. Lin Muyu jumped up and patted the ice off her body. Let's go. We can still eat supper when we return to Spirit Sparrow region. Okay, I want to eat venison hot pot. I want to eat purple potato rice. No, I want to eat bear paw hot pot. You guys are so troublesome. Just eat it all. However, Lin Muyu did not seem to need to worry about this. Spirit Sparrow region was many times larger than before. With just the few of them, it was impossible to exhaust the Spirit Sparrow region. As for wild game, it was even more convenient. Spirit Sparrow region had hundreds of god kings and ultimate gods. They could just go out and hunt in the wild. Simple. Moreover, Feng Zhanlin had already arranged for people to take care of the food. He had some understanding of Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. These gods did not use their strength to bully the weak, they were not lustful, and they were not greedy for power. Their only weakness was that they had very high requirements for food. Chapter 1003. The next day, Spirit Sparrow region's castle was solemn. Though the news of the impending battle was sealed, the entire castle seemed to be shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere. In Spirit Sparrow Palace, Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, and the others stood respectfully below the stairs. There was only one throne in the palace, and this throne belonged to Lin Muyu. Even Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yen just stood at the side. This throne was made of pure gold. Actually, Lin Muyu didn't like it. It was too hard and it sat on his butt. However, he still calmly sat down. He was the only one who could give out orders. Many of the god emperors and god monarchs in the hall actually only obeyed him, but not Feng Zhanlin. Lin General, please give the order. Feng Zhanlin said respectfully. In the crowd, God Emperor Luo Xianxia smiled. Are we going to fight, Big Brother Lin General? After a few months of familiarity, Luo Xianxia had her own way of addressing Lin Muyu. Yes. Lin Muyu smiled. Everyone should have guessed that Sky Foothill region is trying to provoke us. Since that's the case, we have to let them know our power. So today, we will go all out to Sheep Spirit Valley. No matter how many people from Sky Foothill region come, don't think of leaving. Everyone remember, don't kill them. We will destroy Sky Foothill region, but don't kill all their people. Luo Xianxia nodded. Yes. Niu Geng said very honestly, Lin General, don't worry. Our fists will be measured. Then get ready to go. Yes. When the sun rose, hundreds of godly state experts left the Ling Sparrow domain and flew at a low altitude towards the Sheep Spirit Valley in the east. Lin Muyu knew very well that the period when Dongfang Yen was recuperating was the best time for the Ling Sparrow domain to expand. If they missed it when Dongfang Yen made a comeback, the Ling Sparrow domain would not be able to withstand it. After all, the absolute power was there. In the Sheep Spirit Valley, there was a wide valley. In the morning, hundreds of flowers bloomed and dew covered the ground. Under the sunlight, one could faintly see a faint golden aura rising from the ground. This was spiritual energy visible to the naked eye. It was the nourishment of this spiritual energy that made the Sheep Spirit Valley feel like spring all year round. Even though the land of the prehistoric mystery dimension was covered in ice and snow, this place still felt like spring. In the middle of the canyon, among the rocks and weeds, there was a group of people dressed in green. They were the people of the Sky Foothill region. In the crowd, a middle-aged martial artist with a resolute appearance and reserved divine light was sitting on a rock. The saber in his hand was reflecting a terrifying cold light under the sunlight. This person was the Celestial Foothill region's region lord, Mochi Lin, a God-Emperor realm expert who possessed peerless martial arts. Will the Spirit Sparrow region really come? Mochi Lin asked. At the side, a slightly younger cultivator nodded and smiled. They will come. Don't worry, big brother. If I'm not wrong, Fengzhan Lin will personally bring people over. But how many people he brings will depend on whether he thinks highly of our Sky Foothill region. Mochi Lin frowned. Second brother, is the legend true? Mochi Lin was stunned. What legend? In the Spirit Sparrow region, there is a six-winged seraph holding down the fort, and there is also a young man with the overgod's spark called Lin Muyu. Is that true? This has not been confirmed. Mochi Lin's gaze turned cold. If it is confirmed, then what should we do? Second brother, with our strength, we can indeed kill Fengzhan Lin and Fengzhan Hai in this sheep spirit valley. But if they have the help of a seraph, I'm afraid we will fail here today. You should have heard about what happened in the Golden Dragon region. Looks like this rumor is most likely not false. I don't believe that a seraph would really come to this barren land. Mochi Lei said, Big brother, you believe those rumors too easily. Think about it, what kind of existence is a seraph? They are dominator-level monsters that can control the heaven realm. They are extremely honorable in the god realm. Why would they come to the ancient secret realm to suffer? Think about what there is in this secret realm, other than slaughter and conflict. There is probably only a pile of ancient divine weapons that have been lost somewhere. But what if? Mochi Lin's brows were tightly furrowed. The Sky Foothill region that you and I created for hundreds of years isn't easy. We can't let it be destroyed like this. I have a bad premonition. If the Blazing Angel really comes, let the brothers retreat. There's no need for this battle. Retreat. Mochi Lei said, Big brother, it is easy for you to say. The arrow is already on the bowstring, it has to be released. Moreover, if Fengzhan Lin and Lin Muyu really come, they will not let us leave. These people are ambitious, destroying the Golden Dragon region in a day. That is the Wu family's Golden Dragon region for tens of thousands of years. Sigh. Mochi Lin suddenly looked up, a beam of flowing light flew over from afar. It was a divine king of the Sky Foothill region, he said respectfully, Region Lord, people are coming, people from the Spirit Sparrow region are coming. How many people are coming? Who are they? I can't see clearly who they are, but there are more than 400 god realms. What? Mochi Lin was shocked. He clenched his fists and said, Why do they have so many god realms? Region Lord, they merged the Golden Dragon region almost unharmed. Damn it, retreat. I am afraid it is too late. Mochi Lei's voice trembled. Suddenly, a bright golden light bloomed in the sky. There was a faint sound of God. A huge golden will suddenly spread out. In the next moment, a strong domain power fell like rain, controlling the area within a few miles of the Sheep Spirit Valley. Mochi Lin and the others only needed to use their power slightly to find that the law of breaking through the void was already sealed. That is, God will. Mochi Lin's body trembled slightly. How can there be a great perfection God Emperor in the Spirit Sparrow region? Did Fengzhan Lin already break through in a short time? Impossible. At this moment, figures appeared on the surrounding mountains. In the blink of an eye, over 100 god realm experts of the Sky Foothill region were surrounded. A majestic force as strong as a mountain swept over. On top of the mountain, a handsome young man wearing a white robe and armor slowly flew over with a sharp sword in his hand. It was Lin Muyu. Fengzhan Lin, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yan, and the others came with Lin Muyu. As for the godly beast Fu Zhu, he was watching from afar. If anything went wrong, he would flood the Sheep Spirit Valley. What is the meaning of this? Mochi Lin was very calm. Fengzhan Lin smiled slightly. Long time no see, Region Lord Mochi. Mochi Lin coldly glanced around and saw that the surrounding mountains were already filled with people from the Spirit Sparrow region. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart as he said, "It seems that the Wind Region Lord has decided to eat us?" Decided? Where did that come from? Feng Zhanlin held his sword and said, "Courtesy demands reciprocity. The Sheep Spirit Valley is not anyone's territory. Since the Sky Foothill region can come, the Spirit Sparrow region can naturally come as well. However, the people from the Sky Foothill region were overbearing yesterday and killed an ultimate god of the Spirit Sparrow region. Is that true? Deaths are common in disputes between two sides," Mochi Lin said. "However, we did not expect Region Lord Feng to bring so many people over. You are quite ambitious." Feng Zhanlin laughed. "It's not that I'm ambitious, I just don't want to be bullied." "What do you mean?" Feng Zhanlin raised his eyebrows. "Your Sky Foothill region is the same as our Spirit Sparrow region. You have been bullied by the Raging Fire region for hundreds of years. There is no other reason. We fight on our own and are naturally not a match for the Raging Fire region, but if we work together, it may not be the case." Haha. Mochi Lin could not help but laugh wildly. "Looks like Region Lord Feng wants to use the same trick again, to destroy our Sky Foothill region like how you destroyed the Golden Dragon region?" However, he slowly held the blade horizontally in front of his chest, divine power breaking out of his body, and said with an imposing manner, "Unfortunately I, Mochi Lin, am not Wu Feng. I will not give up without a fight. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then you must step over my dead body. Feng Zhanlin, come at me. I, Mochi Lin, am not a person who is afraid of death. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then do it. I just don't know if your sword is sharper, or if my bones are harder." Feng Zhanlin gritted his teeth. As the legends said, the Sky Foothill region's Mochi family was a bunch of hard bones, stubborn even when cooked. They would not admit defeat. Seeing that Feng Zhanlin was at his wit's end, other than attacking, Lin Muyu coughed. Mochi Lin and Mochi Lei immediately looked at Lin Muyu. "Could you be Lin Muyu?" Mochi Lin said. "That's right, that's me. Looks like you aren't as strong as the legends say," Mochi Lin said directly. Luo Xintian, who was behind Lin Muyu, was immediately unhappy. She raised her long sword and said, "Mochi Lin, are you blind? Lin General is clearly very strong." Mochi Lin frowned, but did not argue with her. He just asked, "I just want to ask, who was the one who activated the God Will just now? To actually be able to control the plane within the entire region, I want to meet this expert." "Meet what? Are you going to surrender or not?" Luo Xintian was naturally hot-tempered. Instantly, the people of Sky Foothill region were all enraged. They all took out their swords, weapons, and stood in the air, their divine power exploding. They shouted angrily, "Let's fight, who's afraid of who?" The people of Sky Foothill region are not easily frightened. Right at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly stretched her palm forward. Immediately, a buzzing sound of airflow could be heard as a huge golden roulette expanded rapidly. The piercingly cold airflow even forced Mochi Lin and Mochi Lei to unleash their energy to defend against it, while the rest of the people with lower cultivation base were shocked by the tens of meters tall golden roulette and were sent flying backward. The heaven and earth dimmed, and the power of a God Emperor could be seen. "You are not a great perfection God Emperor, but you can use the God Wheel." Mochi Lin looked calmly at Lin Muyu, and an answer was on the tip of his tongue. "Sovereign personality." Lin Muyu had a bright smile on her face, and her voice was very calm. "Mochi Region Lord, are you willing to join us and rule the 64 regions together? As long as you join, Spirit Sparrow region will establish Sky Foothill Hall and Spirit Sparrow Hall. You will be the Hall Master of Sky Foothill Hall, and you will be on the same level as Feng Zhanlin. So, this is not a merger. You are different. You are joining the alliance." Chapter 1004. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists at Mochi Lin and said politely, "Region Lord Mochi, although the primordial mystery realm is called the 64 domains, it is only a general name. Since ancient times, the 64 domains have been a world of great battles. At most, There are 273 domains, and at least there are 8 domains. In such a world of great battles, we naturally have to adapt to the situation. If we only rely on the strength of one of our domains, we will definitely be swallowed by the raging fire domain. Divided, we will be weak. United, we will be strong. I hope the region lord will consider this carefully. The Xianyuan sword in Lin Muyu's hand was enshrouded in waves of golden waves that dissipated into the surrounding air. However, it gave off a sense of righteousness. Even god emperors like Mochi Lin and Mochi Lei felt like they were being summoned by the way of the king. In addition to Lin Muyu's extraordinary appearance and righteousness, Mochi Lin could not help but waver a little. Big brother, the celestial foothill region. Mochi Lei seemed to want to say something. However, Mochi Lin waved his hand lightly and said, "Second brother, there is no need to say anything. Region Lord Feng is right. Divided, we will be weak. United, we will be strong. Since we have painstakingly built the celestial foothill region, we should find a good home for our brothers." As he spoke, Mochi Lin slowly bent his body and knelt on one knee in front of Lin Muyu. He looked up at him and said, "I hope that you can fulfill your promise and lead us brothers to conquer the 64 domains. From today onwards, we will never be bullied by anyone." "Get up, I will." Lin Muyu bowed and helped Mochi Lin up. He smiled awkwardly and said, "We really had no choice but to bring such a big lineup today. We don't dare to look down on our brothers from the celestial foothill region. I hope the region lord will be magnanimous enough to forgive us." Mochi Lin also smiled and said, "You are too polite. What are you saying? Brothers, I, Mochi Lin, have decided to join the alliance. What about you?" Most of them were awed by the spirit will power displayed by Lin Muyu. How could they have any objections? They all knelt on the ground and said, "We are willing to join the alliance with the region lord." Good, good. Lin Muyu's eyebrows relaxed, and he finally felt relieved. At this moment, he had enough power to resist the raging fire territory. Thinking about it, back in the Shattered Cauldron realm, she only had a few God realm experts under her command. But now, Lin Muyu could command more than a dozen God emperors. How mighty was that? At the side, Feng Zhan Lin cupped his fists and said, "Lin General, this subordinate feels that, since we're joining the alliance, why don't we keep the names Spirit Sparrow Region and Sky Foothill Region, and give our new alliance a new name? Wouldn't that be better?" Lin Muyu nodded happily. "All right, but what should we call it?" He looked at Qin Yin. Qin Yin looked around and said with a smile, "How about we call it the Dragon Rebel Battle League? If the Raging Fire region provokes us again, we'll let them know how powerful we are." Dragon Rebel Battle League. That's too long. Let's call it the Dragon League, Tang Xiaoxi said. Qin Yin smiled happily. That's good too. Brother Yu, how about Dragon League? Lin Muyu looked at Feng Zhan Lin and Mochi Lin and said, "What do you think? How about we call it the Dragon League from now on?" Both of them were uncouth men. They immediately cupped their fists and said, "We have no objections." "All right, it's decided then." Mochi Lin muttered and changed his mind like Feng Zhan Lin. "Lin General, since our Sky Foothill region has joined the alliance, then it won't be like the Spirit Sparrow region, where we have to abandon our original territory and move to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, right? Do you think it's appropriate, Lord Mochi?" Lin Muyu asked modestly. "The territory of the Sky Foothill region was built by us after hundreds of years of hard work. I feel it's a pity. How about?" Mochi Lin thought for a few seconds and said, "I would like to request that only the God Realm experts move to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, while the servants and civilians stay in the castle to recuperate and provide food and spirit fruits. What do you think, Lin General?" "That's appropriate." Lin Muyu nodded and agreed. "Just do as I say, Lord Mochi. As long as the God Realm experts go to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, it'll be fine, just in case the Raging Fire region attacks us." "Yes, I understand." Mochi Lin's face showed some relief. In his opinion, Lin Muyu, as the leader of the Dragon League, was willing to listen to his suggestion politely. Such a talent could become the overlord of the 64 regions. Therefore, both sides put away their weapons. Machi Lin led close to 300 God Realm experts and followed Lin Muyu back to the Spirit Sparrow Castle. He only sent the servants back to transport the resources. On the way, when they found out that Xian was a blazing angel and Fuzhu was a ferocious beast, Machi Lin and Machi Lei were even more shocked. They looked at Lin General in a new light. He could even tame the legendary Fuzhu. This kind of person was really not simple. After returning to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, the most important thing was to arrange a place for the people of the Sky Foothill region. Fortunately, Wu Feng and Wu Su were extravagant and had built 2 new palaces in the castle. It was just enough for the people of the Sky Foothill region to rest. 2 days later, a large amount of resources were continuously transported from the Sky Foothill region. There were weapons, rations, spirit fruit trees, etc. The Machi brothers had managed the Sky Foothill region for many years, so they naturally had many treasures. Machi Lin naturally wanted to offer some to the leader of the Dragon League. Unfortunately, he was rejected by Lin Muyu. If she wanted treasures, she could find them herself. There was no need for her subordinates to offer them. This naturally made the Machi brothers admire her even more, and they treated each other with sincerity. Straightforward people did straightforward things without much hesitation, so they were naturally easier to get along with. On the 3rd day, the gate of the Spirit Sparrow Castle was replaced with the words Dragon League. Feng Zhanlin's subordinates also started to make the Dragon League's war flag. There was a dragon-shaped pattern, which was somewhat similar to the war flag of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu saw this and didn't say anything. The Dragon League was the power of the divine realm, but the original intention of Lin Muyu establishing the Dragon League was to help her pacify the various countries of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Therefore, the people of the Dragon League would sooner or later become the generals of the Longdan army camp, from captaincy to Kiliarchs and centurions. If even the centurions of the Longdan army camp were at the divine realm, who could resist such an army in the Shattered Cauldron realm and the Celestial Pole continent? Just like that, the order in the Spirit Sparrow Castle was slowly established. More than 10 days later, everyone got along well with each other. Apart from some conflicts, such as sparring and impulsiveness, there wasn't much else. Feng Zhanlin and Machi Lin were both leaders with both prestige and strength. The 2 of them had one thing in common, which was that their strength was above Lin Muyu's, but they were also very respectful of Lin Muyu. With the 2 of them managing the Dragon League, it was guaranteed that nothing would go wrong. After a while, Lin Muyu naturally continued to cultivate in the Cave of Gods and Demons with Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Xiyan. At this time, there were already endless spirit fruits, so the cultivation process was also twice as fast. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months passed. Everyone's cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds. Lin Muyu had already stepped into the 69th Heavenly Abode realm and could break through to the 70th Heavenly Abode realm at any time. Qin Yin was 1 step ahead of her. She had already cultivated to the 71st Heavenly Abode realm. It was understandable that the difficulty of cultivating the Overgod lattice was slightly lower than that of the Sovereign lattice. Tang Xiaoxi followed closely behind, having cultivated to the 66th Heavenly Abode realm. As for Xiyan, she had already recovered to the 30th Heavenly Abode realm, and had once again stepped into the God King realm. It could be considered a huge breakthrough. At night, the sky was filled with stars. In the domain castle of the Raging Fire domain, the huge fortress was completely silent. Dongfang Yen, who was dressed in a white robe, sat upright in the main hall. As he breathed, raging flames spread out around him. He slowly opened his eyes, which were filled with radiance. "Congratulations, Domain Lord. It seems that your injuries have completely healed." Dongfang Jin, who was waiting on the side, said happily. Dongfang Yen nodded and said in an old voice, "A lot of things happened during my seclusion." Dongfang Jin, tell me everything. What happened to the group of people who injured me? Dongfang Jin frowned and said, "Domain Lord, they made a big move. We have already inquired and found out that the kid who injured you is called Lin Muyu, a new God Emperor from East Heaven. It seems that his relationship with the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Ziyao is not simple. In the 6 months that Domain Lord was in seclusion, Lin Muyu and Feng Zhanlin joined forces to destroy the Golden Dragon Domain, and then they fought with the Sky Foothill Domain in the Sheep Spirit Valley. What was the result of the battle? Dongfang Yan squinted his eyes. Dongfang Jin's expression did not look good as he said, Mochi Lin and Mochi Lei led the Sky Foothill Domain to surrender to Lin Muyu. It is said that Lin Muyu used a spirit wheel to make Mochi Lin and the others surrender, letting them know that Lin Muyu's divine personality is the legendary sovereign personality. Sovereign personality? Dongfang Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Then we have even more reason to start a war. Domain Lord, I have inquired that Lin Muyu has conquered the forces of the Spirit Sparrow Domain, the Golden Dragon Domain, and the Sky Foothill Domain and established a Dragon League. Currently, the Dragon League has a total of 24 God Emperors, 166 God Kings, and more than 800 ultimate gods. Its strength is comparable to the Raging Fire Domain. In addition to the sovereign personality Lin Muyu and Seraph Shiyen, I'm afraid we won't be able to gain any advantage if we challenge them rashly. Why don't we plan slowly? Oh, how do we plan slowly? Dongfang Jin sneered and said, after the Golden Dragon Domain was destroyed, the Domain Lord Wu Feng and his son Wu Su came to the Raging Fire Domain. Why don't we give them a servant army and order them to attack the Empty Sky Foothill Domain Castle? As long as Lin Muyu dares to lead the main force to the Sky Foothill Domain, we will destroy the Empty Spirit Sparrow Castle in one go so that they can't look after each other. Good plan. Dongfang Yan smiled faintly. In this way, we will be in an invincible position. Bring Wu Feng and his son to see me. I want to talk to them about this personally. Yes. Wu Feng seemed to have aged a lot. His face was full of wrinkles. After losing the Golden Dragon Domain, his mental state was very bad. Even his strength was greatly reduced. Domain Lord Wu Feng, it's been a long time. Dongfang Yan greeted him personally. Wu Feng said with a trembling voice, Sigh. I'm ashamed. Thank you, Domain Lord Dongfang, for accepting us. What are you saying, Domain Lord? We are all gods of the 64 domains. We should support each other. Don't worry, Domain Lord. I, Dongfang Yan, will definitely help you take back what you lost. However, before that, I hope Domain Lord can do one thing for me. Yes, I will definitely do it. Ha, good. Chapter 1005. I wonder, what do you want us to do? Wu Feng asked cautiously. It's simple. Dongfang Yan waved his sleeves and said indifferently, lead the few God Realm subordinates you have now and bring 10,000 servants to the east and take over Mochi Lin's domain castle of Heaven Foothill. What? Wu Feng was shocked. We only have a few God Realm experts left. How can we stop Brother Mochi? Don't worry, Domain Master. Mochi Lin and Mochi Lei are already in Linkai Castle. That's the capital of Dragon League. The domain castle in Heaven Foothill region is empty. You won't meet the main force if you attack Heaven Foothill region. Your opponents might even be a group of mortals. Dongfang Jin smiled. Old Domain Master went to attack Heaven Foothill region, so we can take the chance to attack Linkai Castle? Oh no, this domain castle was originally called Golden Dragon Palace. It was old Domain Master's home, hee. Dongfang Jin's lukewarm words caused Wu Feng to frown, while Wu Su raised his brows and said, Deputy Region Lord Dongfang, we, father and son, have come together. Why must you ridicule us like this? Come to join you? Dongfang Jin couldn't help but laugh. Young Domain Master, I'm afraid you don't understand the meaning of joining. Since you have come to join me, you are now people of Raging Fire region. You are my subordinates. Your attitude towards me is enough to give you 100 lashes. Wu Su was furious. Dongfang Jin laughed mockingly and said, I heard that the young Protectorate Lord was publicly humiliated by Lin Muyu in the Golden Dragon region. Both of them had just entered the Celestial the Arch Realm, but Lin Muyu defeated the young Protectorate Lord within 10 moves. What do you mean by this? Wu Su's face was cold. Nothing. Dongfang Jin clapped his hands and said with a smile, Young Domain Lord, you've lived a carefree life in the land of gentleness since you were young, so I'm sure you've never been humiliated. I think this is where Young Domain Lord loses. Young Domain Lord only knows the softness of a woman's breasts, but you don't know the strength of a man's fists. As Young Domain Lord, you don't think about improving yourself. When I was at Young Domain Lord's age, I had already stepped into the 80th heaven realm, but you're still immersed in the land of gentleness. Dongfang Jin, what is the meaning of this? Wu Su roared angrily. At the side, Dongfang Yen and Wu Feng remained silent and didn't say anything. They seemed to intend for Dongfang Jin to educate Wu Su. Dongfang Jin chuckled. Young master, do you know why the Raging Fire territory is so strong? Why can the Raging Fire realm stand proudly in the south of the 64 regions, while the Golden Dragon realm has been dormant all this time? Why? Because the men born in the Raging Fire region are all men. Our hands are not only used to caress women's breasts, but also to kill people. You, Wu Su, with your current talent, you are not fit to be a member of the Raging Fire region. Letting you join the Raging Fire region is simply a disgrace to us, so I, Dongfang Jin, must first turn you into a real man, and then I can rest assured to let you carry out the missions of the Raging Fire region. What do you mean? The Young Domain Lord will understand very quickly. Men, bring the gift I've prepared for the Young Domain Lord. Yes, Vice Domain Lord. Soon, more than a dozen servants and soldiers walked into the main hall, each of them holding a pitch-black object. When the light shone on it, it was astonishingly clear that it was a bloody human head, and all of them were the heads of young and beautiful women. Ah, Wu Su was so frightened that he fell to his knees. These women were all very familiar. They were the concubines that Wu Su had brought out of the Golden Dragon realm, and all of them were women that he loved. Dongfang Jin, Wu Su's entire body trembled, and he almost couldn't speak clearly. You don't have to thank me, Young Domain Lord. Dongfang Jin said lightly, only by cutting off these delusions of yours can you become a true powerhouse. Otherwise, you will only be bullied and humiliated by others for the rest of your life. At this time, Dongfang Yen finally opened his eyes and said, Dongfang Jin, that's enough. As he spoke, he looked at Wu Su and said, Please forgive me if I have offended you, Young Domain Lord. However, this mission is very important, and Young Domain Lord must be careful. There must not be any mistakes. Dongfang Domain Lord. Wu Su knelt on the ground like a dog at death's door. Wu Feng didn't speak from the beginning to the end. He knew that this was a show put on by Dongfang Yen and Dongfang Jin, but he could only endure it. He was living under someone else's roof, and his strength was inferior to theirs, so he could only endure it. Dongfang Yan's breathing was very long, and he seemed to have signs of breaking through to the perfected divine emperor realm. Dongfang Jin, on the other hand, had 85 grotto heavens, and even Dongfang Jin, the deputy domain lord, was stronger than him. How could he protect his son Wu Su? Moreover, Wu Feng had long realized that it was his pampering that made Wu Su so weak. Slowly kneeling on the ground, Wu Feng said, Domain Lord, please rest assured. I will definitely complete the mission. Also, thank you, Deputy Domain Lord, for teaching my son. Wu Feng thanks you. Old Domain Lord, you are welcome. Dongfang Jin smiled lightly, then you may leave. I will get someone to send the commander's seal to the old Domain Lord. You will leave tomorrow morning, and you will arrive at the Sky Foothill region the day after. 3 days later, when the news reached the headquarters of the Dragon League, everyone was furious. Preposterous. However, the Dragon League was different. Feng Zhan Lin, Feng Zhan Hai, Machi Lin, Machi Lei, and the others were all elites in the God Emperor realm. In addition to Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yan, Fu, and other uncertain factors, if they really fought, the Dragon League had at least a 70% chance of winning. At night, more than 800 God Realm experts stood tall like a forest. Under Lin Muyu's command, all 800 gods flew out of the Spirit Sparrow Castle. In the blink of an eye, They followed the mountain range and flew straight towards the direction of the raging fire region. Everyone flew close to the mountain ridge like a meteor in the night sky, but who would know that each of these meteors was a god who possessed a mighty godly power? Amidst the mountains, in a hidden call, a group of black-robed experts raised their heads to look at the flowing lights in the sky. Their faces were filled with shock. One of the people in the crowd frowned. "What is Lin Muyu doing?" It was Dongfang Yen, who had led 1,000 god-state experts to ambush here, waiting for the opportunity to attack the Lingke castle. Dongfang Jin said coldly, "They seem to be heading towards the raging fire region. Could it be Lin Muyu is crazy? He wants to attack our domain castle?" "He is not crazy." Dongfang Yen clenched his teeth. "He is a smart man. Is he going to fight with us?" "Domain Master, let's go back to the domain castle. We can't let them wait here with bated breath. Otherwise, Lin Muyu's people will attack the domain castle in an hour. That is the city we have been managing for thousands of years." Dongfang Yen took a deep breath. "I didn't expect that the battle that will decide the future of the raging fire region would take place in this nameless mountain. Everyone, don't hold back anymore. Destroy this so-called Dragon League." They didn't hide their auras anymore. They all took out their weapons and magic treasures, turned into streams of light, and rushed towards Lin Muyu and the others. In the sky, Lin Muyu had noticed the dense auras in the valley a few minutes earlier. She had already warned the others. The moment the raging fire region launched the attack, the people of the Dragon League also swooped down and fought with their opponents. For a moment, the night sky was lit up like it was daytime. All the gods used their powers, fire, ice, and wind blades in the sky. It was like a battlefield at the end of the world. Chapter 1006. They really dared to fight. The Raging Fire region had been in the south of the Mystery Land for thousands of years. No one would have thought that a newly established Dragon League would dare to fight with the Raging Fire region in the wild. How crazy and confident were they? In the air, raging flames and frost intertwined with each other, lingering around a shining long sword. It was Lin Muyu who had slashed down from the sky. Before the sword chi arrived, it had already locked onto Dongfang Yen. Lin Muyu, who was in the air, shouted in a low voice, "Dongfang Yen is mine. No one can take him away." As everyone knew, with the invisible elephant spell and the divine weapon, Xianyuan sword, Lin Muyu could challenge 20 levels of Grotto Heaven. Now that he was at 69 levels of Grotto Heaven, it was not too much for him to challenge Dongfang Yen, who had just stepped into the 90th level of Grotto Heaven Great Perfection Celestial Emperor Realm. However, he was not sure if he could win. In fact, Lin Muyu had a clear plan. Recently, there were many rumors that Dongfang Yen had stepped into the 90th level of Grotto Heaven. If that was the case, Feng Zhanlin and Mochi Lin would not be a match for Dongfang Yen. It was better to hold him back and let Feng Zhanlin and Mochi Lin kill the other experts of the Raging Fire region. The Dragon League would have the upper hand in a war of attrition. Good. Dongfang Yen laughed and shot out like an arrow. Before he could reach Lin Muyu, he raised his finger and the sword on his back was unsheathed. It turned into a stream of light and shot towards Lin Muyu. Dongfang Yen had 3 flying swords, named Rainbow Light, Morning Dew, and Flame Blade. The flying sword in front of him was undoubtedly Rainbow Light. It was very bright. There was a loud sound in the air, which was especially noticeable in the Battle of Gods. Lin Muyu used all her strength to send Rainbow Light flying, but her arm was slightly numb. Lin Muyu had been improving rapidly in the past 6 months, but Dongfang Yen did not stay idle either. Dongfang Yen, who had stepped into the Perfection Celestial Emperor Realm, had increased his divine power by at least 40%. It was a qualitative leap. Swish. A chill came from behind. It was the flying sword, Morning Dew. In terms of sword technique, Dongfang Yen was probably a master in this world. Lin Muyu stepped into the air and suddenly swung the Xianyuan sword. Her entire aura was like that of a giant shield, and even the shapeless grand void celestial body appeared beneath her feet. She was young, but she had the demeanor of a grandmaster. The Xianyuan sword swept past like lightning and knocked Chao Lu away, but a strong burning sensation came from above her head. It was the flaming blade. Last time, when the Raging Fire territory attacked the Sparrow territory, Dongfang Yan fought Feng Zhanlin alone for nearly an hour. Dongfang Yan only used 2 flying swords to attack Feng Zhanlin, but this time, he used 3 flying swords as soon as he attacked. It was clear that Dongfang Yan no longer regarded this fight as a game, but wanted to kill Lin Muyu as soon as possible. However, Lin Muyu, a young junior who had just entered the Emperor God realm, had a profound cultivation. Her attack and defense were orderly, and she was not disturbed at all. Gently grabbing at her waist with her left hand, Lin Muyu's palm shook with the whistling sound of Demon Noise fist. She directly sent the Demon Noise blade into the sky. There was a loud explosion above her head, and the flames surged like a round plate. The Demon Noise blade almost perfectly resolved the attack of the flame blade. Once the Demon Noise blade was out, Lin Muyu did not think of withdrawing it in a short time. She held the sword in one hand and slashed at Dongfang Yan, while her left palm slightly opened, controlling the Demon Noise blade to attack from another direction. Since Dongfang Yan was a sword master, Lin Muyu had to show her skill, otherwise, she would be at a disadvantage. When the rainbow light was shaken away by Xianyuan's sword for the 3rd time, Dongfang Yan's face was already very ugly. As a great perfection Emperor God, he actually could not suppress this first-stage junior Emperor God. He had no choice but to directly hold the rainbow light, activating his divine power. Flames lingered around his body, and he forcibly clashed with Lin Muyu, who was holding Xianyuan's sword. A sword master's ability to attack with a sword was also extraordinary. However, Lin Muyu's sword skills were more effective and lethal. When Xianyuan's sword collided with the rainbow light, he let out a low roar. Suddenly, there seemed to be vines and shadows spreading out in the surrounding air, turning into a destructive cold wind that blew towards Dongfang Yan. Chaos of all lives. Dongfang Yan squinted his eyes, and the god wall on the surface of his body made a buzzing sound. This brat's simple attack actually broke through the earth chi, and directly faced the god wall. Step back. Dongfang Yan swept the rainbow light horizontally, and it was so fast that it was almost impossible to be seen by the naked eye. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart, as if she felt the pain of her abdomen being torn by a sharp blade. She hurriedly retreated a few meters, and when she raised her head, 2 flowing lights attacked her. 2-pronged attack. Dongfang Yan let out a roar, and suddenly concentrated his divine power in the air. The 2 flying swords turned into 2 giant pillars, and even directly tore apart an ultimate god along the way who could not dodge in time. This attack was definitely not a trivial one. Lin Muyu did not dare to underestimate it. He quickly raised his left arm, and the buzzing sound of the dragon was endless. Red scales flew out of the void and condensed into a dragon armor around his body. After not seeing each other for a long time, it seemed that Acatosaurus's power had become more solid. At the same time, a dragon blood battle shield was condensed on his arm, and he used his strongest posture to defend against Dongfang Yan's attack. Boom! The 2 swords landed on the dragon blood battle shield like cannonballs. Ice and fire elemental lights shot into the sky. The entire plane seemed to tremble because of this attack. Lin Muyu's arm was numb from the impact, and her blood and chi were in a mess. She even felt like she had lost control of her left arm. Dongfang Yan's strength was obvious. Swoosh! A cold light flashed, and there was a sharp pain in his right arm. It was the rapid attack of the rainbow light. It directly tore a corner of the divine wall, and at the same time, cut a piece of Acatosaurus's scale. It left a few inches long wound on Lin Muyu's arm, and golden blood splashed out, sprinkling like golden pearls in the night sky. Dongfang Yan's speed was too fast. Lin Muyu hurriedly retreated with falling star steps, and at the same time, waved the Xianyuan sword to block several attacks of the rainbow light. The rainbow light could penetrate the divine wall, so it was obviously a divine weapon. Dongfang Yan had been operating in the 64 domains for so many years, and could be called an overlord, so it was reasonable that his personal weapon was not a divine weapon. At this time, Lin Muyu actually felt a little regretful. If she had known this would happen, she would not have fought with Dongfang Yan alone. However, if she did not block Dongfang Yan, and it was Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Mo Qilin, and the others, the winner might have been decided by now. Dongfang Yan was completely different from the Dongfang Yan half a year ago. At this moment, Dongfang Yan had been reborn, and his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Feng Zhanlin and the others were no match for him anymore. Do you think the Supreme Godhead is omnipotent? Dongfang Yan's eyes were full of sarcasm. Riding on the three swords, he laughed loudly and said, "You don't deserve this Supreme Godhead. From now on, it belongs to me, Dongfang Yan." The rainbow light tore through the air, and at the same time, the morning dew and the flaming blade came from the left and right. The whole territory seemed to be locked by Dongfang Yan's aura, leaving Lin Muyu no way out. But it was still speed. Dongfang Yan was a sword master, so he had the upper hand in terms of speed. His understanding of the law of fire and wind was even higher than that of Lin Muyu. Every attack of his was in accordance with the air, the momentum and the power of nature, which doubled the attack power. It felt like he had the right time, the right place, and the right person. Fighting with such a strong master was not only a challenge, but also a pleasure. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu was in a dead end. Dongfang Yan launched an attack from 3 angles in an instant, which was impossible to defend against. Moreover, his power was so strong that ordinary moves could not block it at all. Lin Muyu had many powerful moves, but the 7 glorious stars transformation and the blood refining the sky needed time to accumulate power. When the power was enough, her body might have been pierced by the flying swords, so she could only block it with small moves. In a split second, he made a choice. The invisible elephant spell was activated automatically. The momentum of a mountain in front of him was directly borrowed, but it was not to attack Dongfang Yan, but to attack himself. At the same time, a mass of blood-red flames suddenly burst out of his left fist. The 2 glorious demonic spirits danced, and his fist fiercely hit the mountain. With a boom, Lin Muyu's body bounced back at an unimaginable speed. At the same time, she cleverly dodged the attacks of the morning dew and the flaming blade. At the same time, the Xianyuan sword turned into a bolt of lightning, and with the 5 glorious mountains descending from the sky, it attacked Dongfang Yan's rainbow light at the fastest speed. Bang! The stardust surged. Before Dongfang Yan could figure out what was going on, he was knocked back dozens of meters by Lin Muyu's heavy blow. He couldn't imagine how this guy could move so fast. He just felt that the aura in the air suddenly became thick. Although it was strange, he couldn't see through it. How could he see through the invisible elephant spell of heavens upon heavens? Swish! A cold light flashed below. Dongfang Yan couldn't dodge it, so he hurriedly turned sideways. But his abdomen had been cut open, and golden blood splashed out. He was so eager to kill Lin Muyu that he forgot the magic noise saber he had released before. Bastard! Dongfang Yan flew into a rage. He jumped up and cut the magic noise saber into 4 small pieces with his sword. But it didn't matter, because the magic noise saber was originally made up of 4 small magic noise sabers. Lin Muyu raised his hand and condensed his spiritual power. Suddenly, the 4 flying sabers spun in the air like a train and returned to the knife bag at his waist. At this time, Lin Muyu's breathing was quite rapid. Dongfang Yan's determined attack was resolved with a few small moves, but it wasn't something to be proud of because it also consumed a lot of his strength. On the contrary, Dongfang Yan's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. "You surprised me," Dongfang Yan sneered. For tens of thousands of years, there have been many outstanding people in the 64 domains. I have seen many rare geniuses, but I have never met a peerless genius like you. I'm afraid there may not be one in 10,000 years. But your luck ends here. This world can't tolerate you living, and I can't tolerate you living in this world. As he said this, Dongfang Yan suddenly raised his hand, and a vast golden light shot up to the sky. Spirit Wheel. Chapter 1007. Lin Muyu had experienced the power of a divine wheel. Dongfang Yan's divine will might not be inferior to that of the radiant angel's eye. It was definitely twice as powerful as the demon Emperor Nuslayer's divine wheel. After all, he was a perfected emperor god in the primordial mystery land. His body was strengthened by the spiritual power, and his divine power was purer and more vigorous. Moreover, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Zhanlin, and Mochi Lin were fighting behind Lin Muyu. Once Dongfang Yan's divine wheel swept across the sky, the consequences would be unimaginable. With a buzzing sound, a huge golden wheel opened up in the sky. Dongfang Yan was crazy. He would rather kill his own people to kill Lin Muyu. "Brother Yu! Mu, be careful!" Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi shouted at the same time. Then Shi Yan raised her eyebrows and said, You have no other choice. Use your most powerful divine wheel to fight against him. Only a divine will can neutralize the power of a divine wheel. Shi Yan's words were undoubtedly like a decree that could not be disobeyed, because it was the most correct choice. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. His supreme lattice shone with a dazzling radiance. 12 spirit beads of law came out of his body and surrounded him. He slowly pointed the Xinyuan sword forward. A fist-sized golden divine wheel emerged from the tip of the sword and became huge in the blink of an eye. As Lin Muyu concentrated his divine power, it continued to grow. In less than half a minute, it had already formed a huge wheel with a radius of at least 100 meters, facing Dongfang Yan's divine wheel from afar. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, Lin Muyu was surrounded by an absolute domain that no one could enter. This domain protected the safety of the person using the divine wheel, and at the same time, it protected him from the impact of his own divine wheel. The huge golden roulette was like a bright mirror that reached the sky. It was bright, clear, and radiated in all directions. Not enough. Far from enough. Lin Muyu's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He was unprecedentedly serious. He drained the divine power in his body and poured it into his divine wheel. He knew that the strength and quantity of his divine power was inferior to Dongfang Yan, who was in the full circle realm. He could only fight against him if he was stronger. The divine wheel was a forbidden power. Even Shi Yan had not used it too many times in her life. Firstly, the divine wheel was too destructive. Secondly, the backlash on the body was too severe. Dongfang Yan's use of the divine wheel meant that he was ready to risk his life. In fact, Dongfang Yan had already noticed during the battle with Lin Muyu. Many god kings and god emperors in the Raging Fire region had already been defeated by Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Zhanlin, Mochi Lin, and others. If he could not turn the tide, the Raging Fire region would be finished. You take the power of the martial soul. The martial soul is a gift from heaven and earth to the bloodline of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Hurry! Shi Yan shouted. Lin Muyu frowned. Her long sword began to hum. The power of the 7 luminaries' holy gourd and the god-binding shackles rushed into the divine wheel. In the EC, the power of the god-binding shackles and the 7 luminaries' holy gourd were absorbed in the blink of an eye. The EC became dim, but the light of the divine wheel at least doubled. Sure enough, Shi Yan was right. The power of 2 first-class martial souls could indeed increase the power of the divine wheel by a lot. Dongfang Yan let out a heart-wrenching roar. It was probably his first time using the divine wheel. His old face looked very ferocious under the strong wind. He looked at Lin Muyu with a pair of jealous and angry eyes and shouted, "Come on, let me see how powerful you, the marshal of the left army of the Eastern Heaven realm, are. Go to hell." Boom. Dongfang Yan's divine wheel surged forward. Lin Muyu took the responsibility. Her arms shook slightly, and suddenly the Xinyuan sword made a buzzing sound and rushed towards Dongfang Yan's divine wheel with the sound of a tsunami. However, the size of Dongfang Yan's divine wheel was at least 1.5 times that of Lin Muyu, so it was obvious who was stronger and who was weaker. Most of the gods who were fighting had stopped and watched the collision of the 2 divine wheels with their mouths agape. For a moment, the sky lost its color and the earth shook. The 2 divine wheels exploded at the same time, forming a destructive hurricane. In an instant, all the plants on the mountains and the earth were quickly desolate and withered. Lin Muyu, who bore the brunt of the impact, let out a miserable howl. The dragon armor on the surface of his body peeled off inch by inch, and even dragon blood flowed out. In the blink of an eye, the Acatosaurus disintegrated his body and entered a different space to avoid the disaster. So disloyal. Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword horizontally and concentrated the remaining divine power in the long sword to protect his master. At this time, he could only resist the attack head-on. The power of the divine will sealed the surrounding area. Not to mention breaking the void, even the divine book of the law of space could not escape. Clap, clap, clap. The divine wall turned into golden energy armor and dissipated in the wind. The next moment, the fierce wind of the divine will cut through Lin Muyu's body, leaving deep wounds on his arms, chest, and legs. It was really scary, but Lin Muyu held the sword and continued to fly forward in pain. He had something he had to do. Kill Dongfang Yan. If Dongfang Yan did not die, the war between the Dragon League and the Raging Fire territory would not be over. At the center of the collision of the divine wheels, no one could get in. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were so scared that their faces turned pale. They tried to charge at Lin Muyu several times, but they could not get close to him. They could only watch this crazy guy fly toward Dongfang Yan. Dongfang Yan's body was covered with blood. His white robe was no longer holy, but stained with blood. He looked even older. His blood vessels had even burst in order to activate the power of the divine wheel. It was a horrible sight to see. But his eyes were still filled with hatred and resentment when he looked at Lin Muyu. He wanted to kill Lin Muyu, just like Lin Muyu wanted to kill him. There could not be two tigers in one mountain. This was probably the feeling. In the south of the 64 regions, there could only be one king who could guard the whole region. Bastard! Dongfang Yan roared angrily. His left hand was facing Du, and his right hand was rainbow light, slashing toward Lin Muyu. But Lin Muyu just swung the Xianyuan sword. With two clangs, Dongfang Yan's swords were knocked away. Both of them had almost used up their divine power. The collision at this time was just a contest of mortal strength. At this time, Lin Muyu's advantage also showed. He was young, while Dongfang Yan was already an old god in the ancient mystery land. He had lived for thousands of years. According to the age of the gods in the ancient mystery land, he was about to die. How could an old god compare to a young and strong god like Lin Muyu? Puff! Dongfang Yan spat out a mouthful of blood. He waved his swords weakly and slashed again. He didn't even have the strength to control his swords. Lin Muyu swung his swords with both hands. With two clangs, Rainbow Light and Du's flying swords were knocked away. Then he lifted his boot and kicked Dongfang Yan's abdomen. With a muffled sound, Dongfang Yan slid down from the sky. Behind him, the gods of the Raging Fire region were all stunned. No one had thought that Dongfang Yan, who was so powerful in the Raging Fire region, would end up in such a miserable state. Go to hell! Lin Muyu flew down from the sky, and the Xianyuan sword went straight for Dongfang Yan's neck. But Dongfang Yan seemed to have some strength left. He hurriedly dodged sideways. He dodged the attack on his neck, but failed to dodge the attack on his arm. With a crack, the Xianyuan sword was so sharp that it directly cut off one of Dongfang Yan's arms. Save the region master! Several gods of the Raging Fire region shouted, but most people stood there, dumbfounded. The invincible Dongfang Yan was defeated. To them, this was like a fairy tale. How could Dongfang Yan be defeated? He was an invincible being. Protect Lin, General. The power of the divine wheel had completely begun to fade. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi arrived at the scene immediately. They protected Lin Muyu from both sides, in case he was ambushed. Meanwhile, Feng Zhanlin, Mo Qilin, and the others led the army of the Dragon League to attack Dongfang Yan. It seemed that they were going to devour the gods of the Raging Fire region. Lin Muyu looked straight at Dongfang Yan falling into the dark mountains. Her body trembled slightly and she said, Don't let Dongfang Yan go. Bring his head to me. Yes, Lin General. Feng Zhanlin, Mo Qilin, Luo Xintian, and the others rushed forward without a care for their own safety. The world was once again filled with colorful divine power. Lin Muyu's battle was over, But the Battle of the Dragon League was not over yet. In this battle, they had to kill Dongfang Yen and capture the gods of the Raging Fire region. Otherwise, they would have fought a big battle for nothing. How are you? Qin Yin looked at Lin Muyu, who was covered in blood. She was scared out of her wits. I'm fine. Lin Muyu smiled, but she was in pain all over her body. Her face was covered in cold sweat. She held Qin Yin's shoulder with one hand to keep herself flying in the air. She said, Xiao Yin, stay here to protect me. Xiao Shi Fuzhu, go and help them. The Dragon League needs your strength. Remember, don't kill people. Just injure them. Don't let them escape. The more the better. Tang Xiaoxi nodded happily. Lin Muyu raised her hand and handed the Xin Yuan sword to Shi Yan. She said, Can I borrow it for a while? Shi Yan shook her head and smiled. No need. I will stay here with Xin to protect you. I don't want to kill too much. Okay. Lin Muyu also knew that Shi Yan had long been tired of the vendetta between the divine realm, so she did not make things difficult for her. She stood in the night sky with the two peerless beauties and watched the war of the Protoss. Colorful laws were colliding everywhere between the mountains and the wilderness. It was like watching a three-dimensional movie. It was extremely exciting. Dongfang Yen was defeated. Dongfang Jin was injured by Feng Zhanlin and Mo Qilin. Most of the 18 god emperors of the Raging Fire region had lost their ability to fight. The battle was over. The only variable was whether they could kill Dongfang Yen. As long as they could kill Dongfang Yen, the Raging Fire region would be completely eradicated. After all, the Raging Fire region was the territory of the Dongfang family. If they did not kill Dongfang Yen, they would be able to rise again. The battle lasted for nearly 6 hours. No one knew how many God Realm experts were lost or escaped in the deep mountains. Lin Muyu ordered them not to chase too far. When the sun rose in the east, the battle was over. Feng Zhanlin, Mo Qilin, Feng Zhanhai, Luo Xintian and the others came back covered in blood, but their faces were full of smiles. Where's Dongfang Yen? Lin Muyu asked. He ran away. Then why are you guys laughing? Chapter 1008. The rays of the rising sun shone on the mountains. This unknown mountainous region was full of huge potholes, and a few mountaintops were even raised to the ground. The pothole caused by the spirit wheel was the largest, and it was like a huge basin. After this battle, the entire mountainous region looked like it had been hit by a meteor shower. There were people everywhere in the messy valley, including the wounded and those God Realm experts of the Raging Fire territory who were captured because they didn't have time to escape. Use the soul-binding lock. Feng Zhanlin ordered loudly in the crowd. He coughed violently, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The battle was so intense that he vomited blood due to his severe injuries. Lord of the Feng territory, are you all right? Mo Qilin asked with a frown. I'm fine. Dongfang Jin's palm strength is indeed extraordinary. Feng Zhanlin laughed mockingly. If it wasn't for my Gangqi protection, I'm afraid that sneak attack of his would have killed me. Mo Qilin shook his head and laughed. However, the Raging Fire territory is finished. After this defeat, it will never be able to recover to its former glory. Lin Muyu brought Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi back to the ground. When they landed, they saw Feng Zhanlin and the others putting shackles on the hands of the injured god state experts of the Raging Fire territory, making it impossible for them to use their divine power, let alone their ability to break through the void. There were sharp thorns on each shackle. The thorns pierced into the skin but did not bleed. However, they blocked the flow of divine power. It was similar to the demonic heart arrow in the Shattered Cauldron realm, but much more cruel. These are the soul-binding lock? Lin Muyu asked. Yes, Lin General. Feng Zhanlin knew that he was not from the prehistoric mystery realm and would not know. He said respectfully, the soul-binding lock is made of a special material that can poison the blood, making it impossible for the wearer to use divine power. The 64 domains have always used this method to imprison god state experts. Lin Muyu nodded. How many people were captured in this battle? Reporting to Lin General, we have captured 9 emperor gods, 140 divine kings, and more than 400 ultimate gods. In addition, we have killed 3 emperor gods, nearly 100 divine kings, and nearly 300 ultimate gods. After this battle, the Raging Fire region is almost completely annihilated. There are less than 100 people who escaped with Dongfang Yen. Please rest assured, Lin General. With that, Feng Zhanlin immersed himself in the morning light, closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said with a smile, I didn't expect our Spirit Sparrow territory to have such achievements today. Destroying the Raging Fire territory is the long-cherished wish of our ancestors, and it has finally been realized in my generation. Thank you, Lin General, for letting me, Feng Zhanlin, fulfill my wish. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. This is what we both wanted. There's no need to thank me. We're already on the same side. Yes. Mochi Lin said respectfully, Lin General, we've revived a few hundred captives. What should we do now? Bring them back to the Spirit Sparrow Castle of the Dragon League, or? Lin Muyu thought for a while and asked, Dongfang Yen has been seriously injured and defeated, but he still has some strength. He probably doesn't have the guts to return to the territory castle of the Raging Fire region. Where do you think he will go? Well, Mochi Lin thought for a while and said, thousands of miles to the south of the 64 regions, there seems to be no place for Dongfang Yen except the Raging Fire region. After all, the Raging Fire region has been fighting with the other regions in the south for so many years. Not necessarily. A beautiful girl walked out from the crowd. It was Luo Xingtian. She raised her eyebrows and said, as far as I know, not all of the 10 southern regions have been attacked by the Raging Fire region. For example, the Falling Star region in the southwest has never fought with the Raging Fire region. If I remember correctly, the region lord of the Falling Star region, Xianxia, is a friend of Dongfang Yen. It is said that Dongfang Yen once gave 10 beautiful concubines to Dongfang Yen, and Dongfang Yen gave hundreds of precious spirit fruit trees to Xianxia. The two families have never had any conflict. The Falling Star region? Feng Zhanlin could not help but frown and said, this is a problem. How could I forget about the Falling Star region? Lin Muyu had seen the map of the 64 regions and knew the location of the Falling Star region. She said, the Falling Star region is quite far from here. They won't be able to attack it in a short time. Region Lord Feng, how strong is the Falling Star region? Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said, Lin General, the Falling Star region has a total of 12 emperor gods, 200 divine kings, and more than 600 ultimate gods. It is one of the southern regions whose strength is second only to the Raging Fire region. If what Luo Xingtian said is true, we may have to face a new opponent. It doesn't matter. We will rest for a while. Yes. Then, Mochi Lin said, what should we do with the domain castle of the Raging Fire region? It is the largest domain castle among the dozens of southern regions. It is more than twice the size of our Lingke castle. Lin Muyu smiled and said, it seems that we will have to change the domain castle again. All the divine realm experts of the Dragon League will move to the domain castle of the Raging Fire region. In addition, the domain castle of the Raging Fire region will be renamed Dragon City. It will be the capital of our Dragon League. From now on, it will not change? Feng Zhanlin asked with a smile. No, I won't. Otherwise, I'm afraid all your spirit fruit trees will die if I transplant them again. Yes, Lin General is wise. They are my precious babies. Haha, in the afternoon, Lin Muyu led the team to the Raging Fire region. Just like the legend said, the city had been in operation for tens of thousands of years. It was like a towering giant. The city was inlaid with countless glittering stones. These stones contained sealing power, protecting the city from the erosion of wind and sun, and from the attacks of wild animals. With a rumbling sound, the city gate was opened. After knowing that the divine realm experts of the Raging Fire region were almost wiped out, the servant army in the city had already announced their surrender to the Dragon League. These servant army were very smart. They knew that they were just vassals. It did not matter who they followed, what mattered was that they could survive. After entering the city, before dusk, the name of the city was changed to Dragon City. Feng Zhanlin personally carved the words, Dragon League, on a 10-meter-high rock. He used hundreds of Divine Realm experts to insert the rock into the open space outside the city to show the majesty of the Dragon League. After that, the next thing to do was ideological work. They had to turn the captives of the Raging Fire region into members of the Dragon League as soon as possible. This ideological work was actually very simple. First of all, Lin Muyu, who had been in the mortal world for more than 10 years, was a king and a commander-in-chief, was simply too good at it. Secondly, Xianxia used her identity as a seraph to win the hearts of some Divine Realm experts. Who would want to be enemies with a seraph? More importantly, Lin Muyu single-handedly defeated Dongfang Yan. This was seen by everyone. Lin Muyu's divine will was even comparable to Dongfang Yan's divine will. This was more important than anything else. The primordial mystery land admired the strong. Lin Muyu defeated Dongfang Yan and was easygoing. Soon, she established an image of a hero in the hearts of the Divine Realm experts of the Dragon League. The 64 regions fought every year and needed such a hero who had the personality of a sovereign and could decide the world with one sword. Just think about it, a god-emperor with a supreme disposition, wielding the peerless divine weapon, the Shenyuan sword, and the identity of the left army marshal of the Eastern Heaven Realm. If he didn't pledge his loyalty to such a person, who else could he pledge his loyalty to? Compared to Lin Muyu, Dongfang Yan, Wu Feng, and the others were simply wild gods that had wandered about in the primordial era. They weren't even worth mentioning. In less than 3 days, the hundreds of God Realm experts of the Raging Fire territory who were resurrected in the Battle of the Nameless Valley had almost all pledged their loyalty, except for a few people with the surname Dongfang. And they were imprisoned in the dungeon deep within Dragon City. Late at night, the sky was filled with stars. The huge ice crystals in the sky above Dragon City were incomparably clear, unexpectedly not obstructing the light of the stars in the slightest. On the streets, rows of servants slowly walked by with weapons in their hands. The Dragon League's night patrols were extraordinarily strict. Lin Muyu walked on the stone path, thinking about the fallen star domain. As she walked, a person appeared in front of her. He was wearing a black robe. Who is it? Without another word, the black-robed man fled. Stop! There was no reason for Lin Muyu to let him go. She rushed forward with vigorous steps. She didn't even have time to unsheath the Shenyuan sword, so she directly used her palm as a knife and slashed out the first appearance of starlight. The black-robed man knew that he couldn't escape, so he hurriedly turned around and raised his fist to meet it. Wisps of flames rushed toward his face, and with a bang, his fist collided with Lin Muyu's palm knife. Suddenly, a strong counterforce came. Ha! Lin Muyu was shocked. This person was also an emperor god, and his cultivation was not low. Leaping over, Lin Muyu kicked in the air without any hesitation. There was a fierce storm around her ankle, which was the power of the 3 luminaries all-calamity. The black-robed man couldn't dodge, so he could only raise his arms to block with his fists. Bang! With a muffled sound in the middle of the night, the nearby servant army seemed to be attracted. Many people raised their weapons and shouted, "Who is it? How dare you fight with Lin General? Don't come over." Lin Muyu raised her arm to signal the servant army not to come over. This group of people would also die if they came over, so there was no need to let them be cannon fodder. Looking coldly at the masked black-robed man, Lin Muyu raised her hand and slowly pulled out the Shenyuan sword. It was time to get serious. But at the moment when the Shenyuan sword was unsheathed, the black-robed man smiled bitterly and reached out to pull down the black cloth covering his face. He said, "Lin General, stop fighting. It's me. I admit defeat." Feng Zhanlin. Lin Muyu turned pale with fright. The person who sneaked into the streets of Dragon City in the middle of the night was actually Feng Zhanlin. You came out of the dungeon in the middle of the night. What's going on?" Lin Muyu asked. Feng Zhanlin smiled helplessly. "To do something that Lin General doesn't want to do." "What is it?" Feng Zhanlin raised his hand and took out a pile of sparkling godhoods that looked like gems. He said indifferently, the godhoods of Dongfang Sun, Dongfang Gu, Dongfang Zhe, Dongfang Yao, and Dongfang Mei were all forcibly extracted by this subordinate. I know it's cruel, but it's best for Dragon City to turn these people into useless people. Otherwise, they will always be a hidden danger to the Dragon League if they stay in Dragon City. 1,000-mile dike can be destroyed by an ant's nest. Lin General should understand this better than this subordinate. Chapter 1009. Feng Zhanlin was a resolute and decisive person. Lin Muyu was not surprised that he would do such a thing. Instead, she felt that it was within her expectations. However, her order not to kill the 5 captives of the Dongfang family seemed to have put Feng Zhanlin in a difficult position, forcing the region lord of the Spirit Sparrow region to do such a thing in secret. For a moment, Lin Muyu had mixed feelings. After the Shenyuan sword was sheathed, Lin Muyu said helplessly, "Region Lord Feng, did I really do something wrong?" Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly. "No, this subordinate has long heard from Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi about what happened to Lin General in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Lin General is a benevolent general, so it is natural that he does not want to kill captives. However, I, Lin General Zhanlin, am not. Therefore I am the one who did this. Rest assured, the 5 Dongfang family are not dead. This subordinate only took their godheads. They are only mortals now and no longer a threat to us. If Lin General Zhanlin feels that this subordinate has overstepped his authority, I, Feng Zhanlin, am willing to accept any punishment." "Forget it, what punishment is there to mention?" Lin Muyu waved her hand lightly. "Let the 5 of them out of the city tomorrow morning. Give them food and water. Whether they live or die is up to them." "Yes, this subordinate understands." Feng Zhanlin smiled cheerfully. "Is there any news from the Sky Foothill region?" "There is." Feng Zhanlin said, "The servant army of the Sky Foothill region has been subdued by Wu Feng and his son. The entire domain castle of the Sky Foothill region has become the territory of Wu Feng and his son. It is said that Wu Su slept with 2 of Mochi Lin's concubines last night." Lin Muyu was a little confused. Feng Zhanlin suddenly smiled. However, Lin General Zhanlin does not need to feel surprised. In our prehistoric secret realm, women are like clothes, they can be worn and taken off at will. Wu Su sleeping with Mochi Region Lord's woman for revenge is expected. That is what a despicable person like Wu Su would do. But how should we decide? Let's finish this quickly. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "Tomorrow morning, pick 100 experts from the Dragon League to fly with me to Sky Foothill region. We must be fast. I want to uproot the remnants of the Golden Dragon region." Yes, this subordinate obeys. In the early morning of the next day, before the sky brightened, the sound of cooking came from the side hall of Dragon City. The kitchen had already started working. Lin Muyu and the others also woke up early. After eating and drinking their fill, they went straight to Sky Foothill region. When the first ray of sunlight pierced through the clouds, they saw streams of light flying into the distance. The 100 people chosen by Feng Zhanlin were all experts, at least Divine King level. The current Dragon League was no longer the same as before. It had a total of 32 Divine Emperors and more than 300 Divine Kings. They could bring out such a frightening lineup. Even if they chose 100 top experts to attack Sky Foothill region, the strength left behind to defend Imperial Dragon City was still not to be underestimated. Before noon, they arrived at Sky Foothill region. Under Lin Muyu's orders, dozens of Divine Kings spread out and blocked the exit of Sky Foothill region. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi went straight to the city gate. Even if they did not shout for the city gate, the people in the castle probably would not open it. "Lin General, forcefully breaking through?" Mochi Lin asked. His eyes were burning. After hearing that his concubine was slept with by Wu Su, he was already furious. "Yes." Lin Muyu leaped forward and unsheathed the Shenyuan sword at lightning speed. The chaos of the common people blasted open the city gate as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Everyone rushed in immediately. Even the servant army guards on the city wall did not have time to react. The celestial foothill domain's domain castle was not big. When they arrived at the palace, they saw an ultimate god hurriedly flying in with a weapon in his hand. The person looked familiar as he was the defeated general that Wu Feng and Wu Su brought from the Golden Dragon domain. Courting death. Mochi Lin roared and slashed with his sword. Blood splattered in the air. That divine venerable was killed in one slash. Lin Muyu released the spiritual pulse technique and quickly found the location of Wu Feng and Wu Su. They were at the bedchamber. It seemed that they did not expect their group to come so quickly. It was so fast that they had nowhere to hide. The invisible elephant technique quickly spread out and sealed all the broken void passages. The next moment, Lin Muyu stood proudly in the air with dozens of emperor gods and divine kings. She looked at the small courtyard of the bedchamber and shouted in a clear voice, "Wu Feng, Wu Su, come out." There were many guards in the courtyard, but they did not dare to say anything when they saw so many divine realm experts. Finally, the gold-plated door creaked open, and Wu Su walked out in a disheveled manner, holding a long sword in her hand. She looked at the sky nervously, and her eyes were filled with despair. Lin Muyu, Feng Zhan Lin, Mochi Lin, and the others were all here, and their deaths were near. How could this be? He took a step back and fell on the wall. He murmured, "Didn't the people from Luoxing Domain say that they want to attack the Dragon League? Why did these treacherous people give the Dragon League a chance to breathe?" Lin Muyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Wu Su, I told you to be a good person. Why are you still so ungrateful? Come, I'll give you a chance today. If you can take one strike from me, I'll let you live. How about it?" Wu Su was stunned. Then he laughed wildly in joy. "Lin Muyu, you are the leader of the Dragon League. You can't go back on your words in front of so many people. If I can take one strike from you, you have to let me go." Through his spirit pulse technique, he could clearly sense that Wu Su's cultivation had stagnated. Half a year ago, Wu Su was at the 60th Grotto Heaven stage, and it was still the same even now. On the other hand, Lin Muyu had been cultivating hard in the Cave of Gods and Demons for half a year and had ascended to the 69th Grotto Heaven stage. In terms of divine power, he was at least 2 to 3 times stronger than Wu Su. What could he use to block his attack? "Lin General." Mochi Lin was stunned and said, "Lin General, you have to be careful." "Of course I will be careful." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Region Lord Mochi, we already have Dragon City. This palace in the Celestial Foothill region, it's fine if I destroy it, right?" "Yes, it's fine. Lin General can do whatever he wants." "Do whatever I want." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "I like those words." Feng Zhan Lin touched his nose and said, "Is it worth being so happy about?" Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi looked at each other and smiled. They could truly understand Lin Muyu's thoughts. After so many years in the Shattered Cauldron realm, Lin Muyu had always been prudent and steady. For the sake of the big picture, she would even be held back by some petty people. But now it was different. In the primordial mystery realm, everyone was a god. It was a battle of strength. No one owed anyone anything. So, at this moment, Lin Muyu could truly do whatever she wanted. This was probably a gift from the God Emperor. Only when one had absolute strength could they say these words. Wu Su seemed to be a little excited, but she was more nervous. She held her sword and began to release her divine power. At this moment, the side door opened slowly. It was the old region lord, Wu Feng. Looking at Lin Muyu, Feng Zhan Lin, and the others in the air, Wu Feng seemed to have understood everything. He said calmly, "Su, use your strongest power. Don't let them look down on the martial arts of the Golden Dragon realm." "Yes, father. I understand." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said in a clear voice, "The women in the courtyard, leave. This is none of your business. Don't throw your lives away. It's not worth it." Inside the room, a dozen women in disheveled clothes were fleeing along the corridor. Among them, there was a yellow-robed woman who was very beautiful. Mochi Lin looked at her with a pained expression and muttered, "Xiao Li, you actually betrayed me." Feng Zhan Lin burst into laughter. Mochi Lin quickly punched him and said, Feng Zhanlin, you bastard. How can you laugh at me at a time like this? Do you know how much my heart hurts? Feng Zhanlin laughed loudly and said, Motherf asterisk cur. Whoever is serious loses. Old Lin, you idiot. Motherf asterisk cur. In the air, Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. Suddenly, she raised the sword with both hands. Suddenly, the aura seemed to freeze. The scorching sun in the sky suddenly darkened, as if all the light had gathered on the Xianyuan sword. It was still the shapeless elephant spell, borrowing the power of the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. When the sky darkened, one could vaguely see the light of the stars. The light of the stars fell down and gathered in Lin Muyu's body, causing the Xianyuan sword to vibrate even more violently. At this moment, Wu Feng's face darkened. He did not expect Lin Muyu's power to increase to such a level in such a short time. Even he might not be able to withstand this blow, let alone his son who was addicted to wine and women. But Lin Muyu slowly spat out a word. The light of the sword instantly pierced through the ground. The entire Sky Foothill region's domain castle shook violently. Ah? Wu Su looked at the countless stars falling from the sky blankly. He had never seen such a powerful martial art like the Seven Glorious Stars transformation. He did not know how to block it. The divine power he condensed was like an egg hitting a rock. There was no need to block it at all. Boom, boom, boom. Under everyone's gaze, Wu Su's body was torn apart like a broken leaf. There were countless holes in his body. The blood that flowed out was instantly evaporated. The ground shook violently. The entire courtyard turned into ruins. A pitch-black hole appeared on the ground. There were only sporadic flying lights left in the air. Those were the fragments of Wu Su's divine spark. They were very small and indestructible. My son. Wu Feng's tears flowed down. He looked at Lin Muyu and the others and said, You kill for power and status. How can you be worthy of being gods? You are not gods. You are demons. Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. She said each word sonorously, Old Region Lord, you are an elder and should be respected by us. But you allowed Wu Su to defile other people's wives and concubines. You did all sorts of things. So, according to the law, you should be beheaded. You said that we kill for power and status. We are not worthy of being gods. But what about you? You are a real evil person. Evil people should be treated with evil methods. So go to hell. I will do whatever I want today. As she spoke, the Xianyuan sword suddenly hummed. Lin Muyu controlled the law of flames and suddenly threw the Xianyuan sword out. Under the control of the imperial sword technique, the sharp sword went straight towards Wu Feng. Wu Feng hurriedly waved his palm to form a shield, but how could he block it? With a bang, he was blasted by the Xianyuan sword, and he fell in a sorry state amidst a broken wall. Lin Muyu withdrew the Xianyuan sword from afar. His eyes turned cold. He said, Feng Zhanlin, Machi Lingo. Bring Wu Feng's head to me. Yes, Lin General. Lin Muyu did not attack again. He had his own principles. He would not beat the old. Chapter 10:10. Lightning and flames clashed. In less than 10 moves, the outcome of the battle was decided. Wu Feng wasn't a match for Feng Zhanlin and Mo Qilin, let alone the two of them working together. Feng Zhanlin carried Wu Feng's bloody head and a godhead as he flew into the air. The head was still dripping with blood. He said respectfully, Lin General, Wu Feng is dead. Lin Muyu glanced at Wu Feng's head. Although this old fellow wasn't a good person, as the ruler of a region, it was a pity that he ended up like this. She said, send his and Wu Su's corpses back to the Golden Dragon region to be buried. Feng Zhanlin was a bit troubled. Wu Feng's corpse is still there, but Wu Su, he was already blasted into pieces by Lin General. There's no way to find his corpse. Forget it then. Let's bury Wu Feng. As for Wu Su, let him return to ashes and dust to dust. Mo Qilin, you're in charge of comforting the servants in the Sky Foothill region. If possible, bring them back to Dragon City. Yes, Lin General. This subordinate understands. Mochi Lin nodded. Lin Muyu looked at the ruins of the palace and couldn't help but feel a bit lost. She glanced at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi beside her and laughed self-mockingly. I've only been here for less than a year, and I've already turned this place upside down. Isn't that bad? Qin Yin smiled. Even if you didn't come, there would still be years of war here. It's just that our intervention broke the balance. Tang Xiaoxi blinked. It's all right. Mu, do what you want to do. We'll all support you. That's good. After everyone cleaned up for a while, Feng Zhanlin came back and said respectfully, Lin General, this subordinate has a suggestion. Wind Region Lord, please speak. Since our Dragon League has already conquered the Raging Fire region, we should announce the establishment of the Dragon League to the world. Otherwise, I'm afraid our position won't be recognized by the other powers. The Primordial Mystery Land has always had this rule. Every newly established region will announce it to the world, hold a grand ceremony, and invite all the major powers to attend. Holding a grand ceremony? Yes, it's a ceremony for the official establishment of our Dragon League. Feng Zhanlin smirked. That's good. Let's show the strength of our Dragon League to the other forces in the 64 domains. This way, those who have designs on the Dragon League will have to think twice. All right. What do you plan to do, Wind Region Lord? A month later, the founding ceremony of the Dragon League will be held in Dragon City. Let's go back to Dragon City now to write invitations and send them to all the forces in the 64 domains. Those who are willing to come can come, and those who are not can come. We can take this opportunity to make friends with the other forces in the 64 domains. In this way, if Dongfang Yan attacks with the Falling Star Field, he will also face pressure from the other forces. All right, let's do that. Feng Zhanlin and Mochi Lin both agreed with this decision. After returning to Dragon City, they each sent people to write invitations and prepare all kinds of materials for the ceremony. Fortunately, the castle in the Raging Fire region was the largest castle in the south, and the palace was extremely magnificent. It would not be shabby to hold a grand ceremony. This was to announce the existence of the Dragon League to the world. Although it was high profile, it was not a bad thing. Within a month, Lin Muyu continued to silently cultivate with the beauties in the Cave of Gods and Demons, but he still could not break through to the 70th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. He had been stuck here for a month, which made him very anxious. In the middle of the night, it was cold in the Cave of Gods and Demons. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin sat together quietly. Their powers seemed to be connected together. Fire and light were very similar. Fire produced light and heat, and one of the characteristics of light was fire. Therefore, under Shi Yan's suggestion, the two of them cultivated together. Qin Yin practiced the 7 cuts heart technique taught by Shi Yan, while Tang Xiaoxi practiced the Great Fire technique. The two completely different mental cultivation methods could complement each other and get twice the result with half the effort. This was jokingly called dual cultivation by Shi Yan. Under the interweaving of fire and light, the two beautiful girls looked calm and peaceful. Even their snow-white faces and skin looked crystal clear. Their strength was increasing day by day, and the speed of their improvement was much faster than Lin Muyu's. On the other hand, Lin Muyu, who was a few meters away, was not so relaxed. Rays of light from the spirit beads of law lingered around him, and the divine power cyclones danced chaotically, making it impossible for others to get close. At this moment, he activated the vigorous divine power in his body and began to break through to the 70th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. Success or failure depended on this one move. The blazing light kept jumping, so much so that Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan stopped their own cultivation. The 3 pairs of beautiful eyes stared in Lin Muyu's direction, cheering him on from the bottom of their hearts. The collision of powers in his body caused Lin Muyu's body to tremble slightly. His face was covered in sweat, and his brows were tightly furrowed. It was obvious that he was not feeling well at this moment. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi opened their beautiful eyes wide, but they did not dare to speak, afraid that they would disturb him. Just like that, the stalemate lasted for nearly half an hour. Finally, Lin Muyu suddenly raised his head and spat out a mouthful of turbid air that carried a hot aura. The surface of his body was covered with a sparkling and translucent luster, and his entire body seemed to be glowing. "You broke through?" Qin Yin asked with a smile. "Yes." Lin Muyu opened his eyes. A pair of clear eyes flickered with a strange light. Suddenly, the corner of his mouth raised, and he said with a smile, "Someone is coming." "Someone?" Tang Xiaoxi carefully sensed and muttered, "No, they will come in about 2 hours." Lin Muyu said, "Impossible, your spirit pulse technique has already sensed so far?" Tang Xiaoxi asked foolishly. Qin Yin could not help but smile. It shouldn't be the spirit pulse technique, but the ability of the 70th level of the Grotto Heaven. "Xiaoxi, you and I have not comprehended the ability." "Oh," on the side, Shi Yan smiled. "It seems that you has indeed obtained a new ability. Premonition, this is the reverse ability of the samsara wheel, able to foresee some things in advance. This ability is very rare, and even I did not obtain it. In the entire Western Divine Realm, only a few God-state overlords such as Eva and Li Fei were lucky enough to obtain it." "I don't know if it is accurate," Lin Muyu said. "It is just a sudden thought in my mind." "You will know in a while." "Yes." Sure enough, after nearly an hour, a rustling sound came from outside the Cave of Gods and Demons. Not long after, they saw Feng Zhanlin, who was shivering from the cold, fly into the Cave of Gods and Demons. He used his divine power to resist the cold, and said while shivering, "Lin General, you are all here." "Lord Feng, what is it?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "Lin General, have you forgotten? Tomorrow is the day of the Dragon Alliance's founding ceremony. It will start in the morning and end in the afternoon. Right now, you can see envoys from the other powers of the 64 domains everywhere in Dragon City. There are even some domain lords who came. Machi Lin and I have been working hard to attend to them, but Marshal Lin is here cultivating with a beauty." He said this with a bit of resentment. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. "All right, I got it. We will return to Dragon City with you immediately." They quickly left the Cave of Gods and Demons. As they flew in the air, Lin Muyu asked, "Which forces have come now?" Feng Zhanlin looked a bit excited. "Almost all of them have come. The most powerful domain lords of the northern region, the Gale domain, the eastern region, the Mystic Heaven domain, and the western region, the Fiery Lion domain, have come in person. Even the most powerful domain lord of the middle region, the Devouring Heaven domain, has sent a deputy domain lord. This time, the forces of the 64 domains have given our Dragon League enough face." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "It may not be a good thing. I am afraid that the news of me possessing a supreme personality has already reached the ears of the major forces. They may not have come to Dragon City to congratulate me, but to divide the spoils. Lord Feng, you are familiar with some of these forces. We can pay them a visit and build a good relationship first." "Well," Feng Zhanlin smiled and said, "I know almost all of the realm masters of the major forces, but I don't have a good relationship with many of them. Nangong Lai, the realm master of the realm of Mystic Heaven, is the closest to me. He's a straightforward man, and I've been drinking with him many times. The realm of Mystic Heaven is the most powerful realm in the eastern region, so it's worth making friends with." "All right, we will go back and pay a visit to Nangong Lai right now." At night, the stars were dim. Dragon City was like a towering giant standing on the earth. Looking from afar, one could see the city was brightly lit. Tomorrow was a big day for Dragon City, and also Lin Muyu's big day in this plane. The 100 Flowers restaurant was the most popular restaurant in Dragon City. Although it was called the 100 Flowers restaurant, in fact, it was not a place to drink with prostitutes. On the second floor of the guest room, guards with swords and sabers guarded the corridor. They all had the same insignia on their shoulders, the insignia of the Mystic Heaven domain. None of these guards were mortals. Even the weakest one was at the God King realm. Seeing Feng Zhanlin, one of them smiled and said, "Lord Feng, you are here?" "Yes, I have brought the leader of the Dragon League to pay a visit to Lord Nangong Lai." The Lord is drinking. Please come in. Thank you. In the guest room hall, a man was leaning against the wall with a wine pot in his hand. He looked to be in his 30s and had a handsome face. On the table was a dazzling longsword. When he saw Feng Zhanlin, he immediately smiled. I thought I was going to drink alone today. My old friend is here. Come, let's drink to our heart's content. Feng Zhanlin was a bit embarrassed. Are you drunk, Lord Nangong? I have brought Lin General here. Nangong Lai was a bit surprised, and the drunkenness on his face faded a bit. He looked at Lin Muyu and felt that the young man in front of him was calm and composed. You are Lin Muyu? Nangong Lai was a bit surprised. What, don't I look like me? Lin Muyu was surprised. Nangong Lai smiled. Forgive me for being frank, you don't look that powerful. At least, you don't look like someone who can defeat Dongfang Yen alone. However, since you regard Feng Zhanlin as your brother and Feng Zhanlin is my brother, then you are also my brother. Don't worry about your cultivation. Drink 2 jars of wine first. A hero can hold his liquor. Lin Muyu immediately let down her guard. Just as Feng Zhanlin said, Nangong Lai was a straightforward person. This kind of person was worth befriending. She sat down and called Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan to accompany her. Nangong Lai turned a blind eye to the beauties and raised his hand. Let's make this clear. We will drink 1 bowl at a time. Whoever uses divine power to neutralize the alcohol is a coward. Do you dare? Lin Muyu was stunned, then smiled. Come on. Good. Chapter 10-11. The wine in the 64 domains was even stronger than the wine in the Shattered Cauldron realm. As soon as the wine entered their stomachs, they felt as if a ball of fire was burning in their stomachs. Furthermore, Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, and Nangong Lai were not allowed to use their divine power to evaporate the alcohol. Therefore, after drinking a bowl of wine, the 3 of them looked at each other and then burst into laughter. Waiter, serve the dishes. Serve another table. Nangong Lai said excitedly. The mystic heaven realm was indeed rich. After drinking 3 bowls of wine, Feng Zhanlin's face was already red. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, maintained her composure. When the Tianji Empire attacked the Lingdong province, it was winter. At that time, Lin Muyu supported the whole situation by herself. Moreover, Qin Yin was not by her side, so she drank every day. Her tolerance for alcohol had long been trained, and she was even better than Feng Zhanlin. After drinking 6 bowls of wine in a row, Feng Zhanlin was already on the verge of collapsing. He grabbed a chicken leg and danced with joy. Nangong Lai, however, looked at Lin Muyu with a pair of fierce eyes and said with a smile, Are you okay? Lin Muyu wiped the sweat on her forehead. This was not drinking, this was simply playing with one's life. Fortunately, everyone's physique had long been tempered to be immune to all poisons. Otherwise, they would really die from alcohol poisoning. But at this moment, Nangong Lai suddenly changed the topic. He smiled and said, Lin General, since you are from the East Heaven realm, why do you want to establish a force like the Dragon League in the 64 domains? You should know that the 64 domains have reached a balance, like a calm lake. But the appearance of the Dragon League is like throwing a heavy stone into the lake. Lin Muyu touched her nose and looked at Nangong Lai. She said, Do you want to hear the truth, or the polite words? Let's be polite first. The major forces of the 64 domains have been at war for many years, and many people have died. The only way to change this situation is to unite. That's why I established the Dragon League. I just want to find a shelter for all the people who join the Dragon League. Sure enough, you're being polite. What about the truth? Lin Muyu waved her hand. It's very simple, I don't want to be bullied by anyone in the 64 domains, so I established the Dragon League. Whoever dares to provoke me, I will destroy them. Ha! Nangong Lai laughed out loud and gave Lin Muyu a thumbs up. Straightforward, true temperament. Come, let's drink another bowl. Feng Zhanlin, this brat, this grandson is about to die. At the side, Feng Zhanlin was already shaking his hand. I can't, let me rest for a while. Lin Muyu clinked bowls with Nangong Lai, and the 2 bowls of liquor were drained in one gulp. Nangong Lai's face was flushed, as if he hadn't been so happy for a long time. In the mystic heaven realm, he was a supreme ruler, and no one dared to talk to him like this. But here, Lin Muyu and Feng Zhanlin were both on equal footing with him, whether it was in terms of strength or experience, so it went without saying that 1,000 cups was not enough for a bosom friend. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Xian sat at another table, minding their own business and eating supper, too lazy to care about what was going on. The only thing they had to do was to bring the drunk Lin Muyu back. Nothing else was important, as she wouldn't die from drinking too much. No one had ever heard of a God Emperor expert dying from drinking too much. The table didn't disperse until midnight. Lin Muyu's face was flushed, and she walked out of the guest room with the help of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Feng Zhanlin, on the other hand, staggered and walked out with the help of the wall. He looked at Xian as if asking for help, hoping that Xian could help him. To his surprise, Xian didn't even look at him, and left with Qin Yin, minding her own business. Wah! Feng Zhanlin vomited, and it felt so good. After walking out of the restaurant and onto the street, Lin Muyu slowly pushed away Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's hands, and said, I can do it now. As he said that, he shook his arms lightly, and the supreme divine power in his body surged, quickly evaporating the alcohol in his body. Almost every inch of his skin was covered in faint red alcohol flames, and his whole body seemed to be covered in clouds. It was a spectacular sight. In just a few seconds, his complexion had returned to normal, and he smiled playfully. It's so good to be a God Emperor. You can drink 1,000 cups without collapsing. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were speechless, while Xian giggled. Behind him, Feng Zhanlin was also a God Emperor, but his control of power didn't seem to reach Lin Muyu's level. He vomited again, then chased after him and said, Lin General, I have something to say. What's wrong, Wind Territory Lord? I vomited everything I just ate. Let's find another place to eat supper. Oh right, Lin General, did you notice the last sentence that Nangong Lai said? Oh. Lin Muyu stopped on the street in the night, and asked in surprise, what did Nangong Lai say to be careful on the road? No, Nangong Lai's last sentence was to be extra careful tomorrow. Careful of what? Imperial battle. What's imperial battle? Lin Muyu was stunned. Feng Zhanlin frowned, and said, Imperial battle is a rule that has been passed down in the 64 domains for thousands of years. When a new force is born, to gain the recognition of all the forces, it must accept challenges from the experts of the major forces in a grand ceremony. Those who do not lose within 30 minutes will be recognized as one of the 64 domains. It's precisely because of this rule that there hasn't been a new force in the past 300 years. I'm only worried that the major domains will make things difficult for us tomorrow. If they insist on imperial battle, then I'll do it. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and didn't say anything. How can there be such an unreasonable rule? Tang Xiaoxi was a little indignant. Qin Yin also frowned and said, That's right, isn't this a tag battle? It's too unfair. Lin Muyu thought to herself, if you've seen Yuan, you wouldn't have said that. Feng Zhanlin said, we have to accept it even if it's unfair. This is a rule that has been passed down in the 64 domains for thousands of years. Lin General, what do you think? I'll do it. Lin Muyu looked up at the bright moon in the sky, and said, if we refuse the imperial battle, I'm afraid the other forces will look down on us. Since the purpose of the grand ceremony is to show off our strength, we must not refuse the imperial battle tomorrow. I'll do it, and there's no need to argue anymore. Unless, Feng Zhanlin, you think you can beat me, then you go. Feng Zhanlin nodded, and didn't say anything. His strength was above Lin Muyu, but he didn't have absolute confidence in winning. After all, Lin Muyu could defeat Dongfang Yen, but Feng Zhanlin couldn't. You've really decided? Qin Yin asked. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled brightly. I just broke through to the 70th level of Grotto Heaven today, and I'm feeling a little inflated, Qin Yin. The next morning, the sound of drums filled the sky in Dragon City. Feng Zhanlin and Mochi Lin had already gone to welcome the guests, and the open space in front of the Dragon City's main hall was where the grand ceremony would be held. Dragon City had plenty of money, and the venue was surrounded by a forest of guards. Just for the preparation of the ceremony, there were more than 20,000 pots of chrysanthemums. Maids in long dresses walked by, holding exquisite lanterns in their hands. The lanterns in their hands were everlasting lanterns, symbolizing that the Dragon League would never be extinguished. The representatives of the major forces entered in order, and as the true master of the Dragon League, Lin Muyu stood at the seat of honor. She cupped her hands and bowed to each person who entered. Du Xing, the domain lord of the Gale region, had a wretched appearance and was extremely skinny. Zhuang Fei, the domain lord of the Fire Lion region, had an arrogant look on his face. The Fire Lion region was full of talents, and in terms of strength, they were not weaker than the Dragon League. As for the strongest of the 64 regions, the Heaven-Devouring region, the domain lord did not come, but the deputy domain lord, Zhao Qian, came. Zhao Qian looked very young, only in his 20s. He wore a soft armor, and with a faint smile on his face, he walked forward, and his eyes lingered on Lin Muyu for a while, and said with a smile, "The Heaven-Devouring region congratulates the Dragon League, and this is our gift. A large chest of gold and silver, and a large chest of precious spirit fruits, was nothing difficult." Lin Muyu nodded cheerfully, and invited Zhao Qian and the others to take a seat. Soon, the ceremony began. Feng Zhanlin read the rules of the Dragon League, and over 1,000 immortal state warriors of the Dragon League flew up, and formed a forest in the sky. It was a spectacular scene. Just as Feng Zhanlin finished reading the rules, an old man among the guests slowly stood up. He was the domain lord of a northern region, and with a strange smile, he said, "Alliance leader Lin Muyu is young and promising, truly admirable. However, the ancient mystery land has its own rules, and we cannot break them. However, we do not agree with Keijan." Lin Muyu smiled coldly. As expected, it had come. What was meant to come couldn't be stopped. The other domain lords also stood up. "Yes, but we cannot agree with Keijan." They all looked at the people from the Heaven-Devouring region. Zhao Qian slowly stood up from his seat and said with a smile, "Since it is a rule, we will naturally follow it. Alliance leader Lin, do you know the rules of Keijan?" Lin Muyu said indifferently, "Deputy Domain Lord Zhao also hopes that the Dragon League will accept Keijan's challenge here today. It is not that I hope, but that is the rule." Zhao Qian cupped his hands and said, "Please forgive me." The group of domain lords all nodded as if they had discussed this beforehand. Clearly, they had discussed this beforehand. It would not be easy for the Dragon League to establish a foothold in this region. In the end, the godly state experts of the Dragon League all looked at Lin Muyu. If the Dragon League refused to accept Keijan's challenge now, it would probably disappoint many people. Fear was the most shameful mentality of cultivators. Lin Muyu took a deep breath, raised her hand, and said, "Move away and prepare the incense." The platform in the center of the hall was immediately cleared. Feng Zhanlin held a stick of incense and walked to the side of the hall, lighting it in front of everyone. Clang! The Xianyuan sword was unsheathed, and Lin Muyu landed on the platform in the center of the hall. She said, "The incense has been lit. I, Lin Muyu, will accept the challenge here. May I know who will be first?" The corner of Zhao Qian's mouth rose. He sat there quietly and did not say anything. Nangong Lai crossed his arms, and his face was full of admiration. "Friends of mine, Nangong Lai, have guts." The group of domain lords looked at each other, and no one wanted to go first. However, there were still people who wanted to go first. After all, Lin Muyu's cultivation did not seem to have reached the grand perfection God-Emperor realm. Even though the sword in her hand was powerful, she herself might not be that powerful. "I will go first." In the crowd, a domain lord holding an axe stood up. His face was full of muscles, and he laughed. "I am the domain lord of the Wind Spirit region, Liang Feng. People call me Mad Liang. I am here to experience your skills." You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.